Welcome back to Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're here with our final preview episode of the season. It's the Super Bowl 59 preview. The Kansas City Chiefs against the Philadelphia Eagles down in New Orleans. And it's the last game of the NFL season. We've got a bumper preview episode for you. We've got not one, but two guests for our Super Bowl preview special. We're joined by, I'm very excited for this guest, Heath Cummings from CBS Sports Fantasy, on Fantasy Football Today podcast. Great guest, big Chiefs fan. So he's going to be providing us with the Chiefs slant for the big game. And then we've got returning guest Phil from the British and Irish Eagles. He was on during our season preview series, talking about the Eagles. No better way to end the season than with Phil talking about the Eagles in the Super Bowl. You'll notice if you're watching on YouTube, it's just me and Byron to kick off the show. Byron, welcome. How's your Super Bowl week been so far?
Yeah, exciting. Yeah, I love seeing all the media stuff. And we're not there yet, but it's great seeing the UK guys get over there and getting on, asking questions. You know, Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Barkley. You know, it's aspirational, and it's very cool seeing people we've had on before. Andy Davies, I know, has been big over there, asking all his questions. So yeah, it's been really fun seeing people we know and have worked with in the past get over there and putting their name out there. It's very, like I say, really fun.
Yeah, cool to see. One day it's going to be us. We're going to get Good Teams and Great Teams cover to Radio Row at some point. But yeah, shout out Andy. He's been a great guest for us. And we sent him a clip for his Super Bowl preview show. Mm-hmm. He got to ask questions to Patrick Mahomes, which was pretty cool. Kelsey was asking Kelsey about matching potentially Gronk's Super Bowl haul. That was pretty cool. He was awful at the quarterback challenge.
Yeah.
If you saw that clip.
I did, yeah.
Shout out, Andy. You got to put yourself up there to get shot down.
Absolutely.
But
English not known for being great quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if there was a round ball, I'm sure Andy would have smashed it.
Absolutely. But great effort nonetheless. I think he was in the wrong gear. He was in like shirt and trousers.
Yeah.
It was never going to work out well for him. But great effort. See the Pro Football Ireland guys over there, the franchise tag guys over there. We've had Freddie on before. He's out in New Orleans. Yeah, great to see. We're doing our bit just from afar this time. Joe's going to join us later on. We've got our bit sandwiched in the middle. So we're going to kick off the episode with Heath talking about the Chiefs. We're going to do our betting preview and our preview for the big game with our usual draft competition. We've got our Super Bowl prop picks as well, our draft competition that we did last year and we'll do again. We've got our guests taking part in that, and then we'll finish off with Phil and the Eagles. It's Wednesday. We're recording this on Wednesday. The episode comes out Friday. Scale, Byron, not to how kind of ready are you for the Super Bowl right now?
Well, I have the slight issue of I have the Hot Ones Challenge on Saturday, which is occupying more of my... I'm trying to be mentally strong in preparation for that. So, yeah, it's kind of... My brain's kind of in two places. I'm really excited for the football. I can't wait. That I think there's been a bit of fatigue, like speaking to colleagues and stuff of like, oh, I wish it was anyone but the Eagles and Chiefs. It's like, but I kind of get it, but like, these are really two really, really good teams. I just can't wait for a good game of football. I was on the TH Fantasy Football guys earlier in the week doing a preview, and I am, we're Cowboys fans. I'm not going to cheer for the Eagles. Like, I just can't do it. But I really respect this Eagles team. I just really hope for a good game of football. I'm slightly hoping the Chiefs win. Well, I am hoping the Chiefs win, but I don't think the outcome's going to decide my mood. I think just as long as we get a good game of football, and I'd really struggle to see how we won't. Like, got probably the best two teams in football overall. Like, I'd love to see the Lions make it, but injuries struck them down. The Bills would have been nice. The Ravens could have been nice as well, but ultimately the Chiefs just get it done. Watching Mahomes is a privilege. Watching Mahomes in the postseason is an ultimate privilege. So, yeah, as long as we get a good game, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a close one. We had an instant classic last time between these two in Super Bowl 57. I just can't see how it's not going to be similar. It's going to be close. It's going to be nail-biting. The worst thing for a Super Bowl is a blowout. Like, we've sat through some of them, and they're not cool. But the way these two are and how they match up, I just cannot see how this isn't close. And goes right down to the wire. So we don't want to get too much into our preview because that'll come up in the middle of the show. We've got Heath Cummings, as mentioned, from CBS Sports Fantasy. He's our first guest. Let's hand over to myself and Byron with Heath and talk about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes, we're delighted to be welcomed by Heath Cummings of Fantasy Football Today on CBS for our Chiefs preview. Not only a Chiefs fan, but also someone else who's looking for their own three-peat, coming off back-to-back Sports Podcast of the Year awards. We just seen you got a repeat, so obviously going for your very own Chiefs three-peat there. Congratulations and welcome, Heath. Thanks for joining us.
Trying to work our way into that negotiation between the Chiefs and Pat Riley over the three-peat merchandise.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll be able to be able to print some FFT three-peat stuff next year.
Love it. Can't wait to see it. Yeah, obviously you are dynasty focused as well. It is a big Chiefs week, but thought it'd be a miss to go without asking you for a quick rookie preview. Senior Bowl's just happened. Is there any rookies that you see can come in and make an instant impact outside the top three? You've got Ashton Genty, Travis Hunter, McMillan. Is there any other guys that you've got your eye on immediately? So obviously pre-combine.
So first off, like I think like the Genty discussion's easy. I am fascinated by the whole Travis Hunter situation and how this is going to end up. And I'm a guy who also likes IDP leagues a lot. I would love it if he could play both ways and we could have the argument that fantasy baseball had half a decade ago about Shohei Ohtani and do you count his offensive stats or his defensive stats or both? And I will be team both. Hopefully he plays 80% of the time as a wide receiver and he can play a few snaps at corner as well. That would be awesome. As for who else is going to immediately contribute, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 3, 4, maybe 5 different running backs from this class. That's the story of the 2025 draft class. Exceptionally talented and deep running back class. And listen, I think we all have to kind of balance what we think of players before the draft with what happens on draft day, but specifically at the running back position, I generally lean more towards what happens on draft day. So that's going to determine a lot of it, who gets good draft capital and a good landing spot. But I'm very excited to see what happens with Travion Henderson. I'm very excited for Caleb Johnson. I think Ashton Genty is going to be a top 8 running back immediately, most likely. But we might have 3 or 4 rookies in the top 25.
Is there a shot that Genty was fully we're fully expecting to go in the first round, maybe somewhere in the middle? Is there a shot that more than one running back goes and that another team sees kind of that value and then that naturally bumps obviously their value up for dynasty?
Well, I as long as it's not the Chiefs doing it, I'd be okay with that. So yes, I think we could see a second running back slip into the back end of round 1. It was really interesting because I think what a lot of us thought coming into this past year was that we had several elite star running backs who were just about ready to age out of the position. Yeah. And then the aging curve just didn't impact anyone, and they're all the same guys they were. But still, Father Time is undefeated. And so we do have a lot of teams that prioritize running backs in their offense that have older vets. I just wonder how many of these guys are going to end up in like a Trey Benson situation like last year, where you get paired with a 29, 30-year-old running back and you got to wait your turn. Hopefully not very many.
Yeah, and even that Trey Benson, I think dynasty managers were thinking, well, this will be 1 year.
Yeah.
And then, week 13 comes around or whatever it was, and it's like, James Conner signed a new deal. And James Conner is suddenly ageless. And for the first time in his career, doesn't get injured. So, yeah, a rough go around for Trey Benson dynasty managers, or, even Jonathan Brooks dynasty managers. You never quite. And then Bucky Irvin, 4th round pick, I believe, just, I'm not sure exactly where he's in dynasty rankings now, if you've got yours, Heath, but top 7 running back probably in dynasty right now?
Definitely top 10. I update mine once a month in the off season. And so in my January ranking, I had Bucky Irving at RB8. I think, listen, if we get to May and the situation's kind of looking like it's going to be exactly the same, then maybe you're viewing him as a top 6 guy. But yeah, he was the guy who made the big leap.
Yep. And you kind of mentioned running back there. Is there a skill position player you'd love to see the Chiefs draft at, let's say, pick 32?
Yeah, so I think the answer is no. I think what I'd prefer the Chiefs do is draft an offensive lineman because they've had some concerns there. They've done a good job of managing it, moving Tooney outside to play tackle, and he's been fantastic in that regard. May have punched his ticket to the Hall of Fame just with that alone, and hopefully a 5th ring. But they need to fill some holes on the offensive line if they were going to take a skill position player, I think maybe it's a tight end that I would be looking for. See if Travis Kelce has said this week that he hopes in 3 years he's still playing for the Chiefs. I hope he is also, but you probably ought to keep taking shots at that position since it's so important in this offense.
Absolutely, yeah. And Noah Gray, I think, signed the start of this season an extension, but
yes,
like you say, you can never have too many shots at it because if Kelce does walk away into the sunset one day, it's a huge gap.
Well, I think, and I think if somebody like a Harold Fannin hits, then Noah, he's well outside of anything Noah Gray might ever be.
100%, yeah. And looking back at the Chiefs season, don't get too many of these, I would dare say, but was there any part of the season where you worried, the Chiefs might not make it back?
I'm going to do my part to perpetuate the hatred of the Kansas City Chiefs, which I think generally when this happens, it's because there's too many Chiefs fans that become too smug. I honestly do not know that there's been a time in the last 3 seasons that I felt like they were not going to make it back. And last year they had some major struggles that I mostly just laughed through on the podcast because it really does, after 7 in a row, feel like the Chiefs season starts during the AFC Championship game. And you hope it's not a 1-game season. I just kind of assume they're going to get to that point until they don't.
Absolutely fair. I mean, history is very much on your side.
Exactly. And I mean, it's kind of like the way you feel about the Chiefs in a game. Like, I didn't really necessarily go into that Bills game thinking the Chiefs were better than the Bills. 2 years ago, I certainly didn't go into the Bills or the Ravens game, both on the road, thinking the Chiefs were better than those teams.
Yeah.
But I do think that the problem is those teams have to be ahead by more than 1 score. They've got to be ahead by at least 9 points when they give the ball to Patrick Mahomes with less than 5 minutes to go. And if you can, we saw the Bills do that in the regular season. If you can have that lead, then you're okay. And if not, then you might not be.
Very well put. And, we every week pick all the games against the spread. And we kind of have, Paul especially has one rule of never bet against Mike Tomlin as an underdog. But the other one of recent has been, if the Chiefs are an underdog, just bet the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Occasionally, like the Bills on the road this year, it didn't work out. But by and large, if you go against the Chiefs, you might as well throw your money away.
Well, they're kind of an interesting team if you're thinking about like the idea that good teams win, great teams cover. Like if the Chiefs are favored by more than a touchdown, there's a decent chance they're not going to cover because they usually win by 1 score. But I think you're right. If they're an underdog, you definitely bet on them.
Yeah.
I think in this situation as well, I mean, we're at Wednesday when we're recording and the Chiefs I think the Chiefs are still at -1.5.
Mm-hmm.
They're so good as in them close games where anything less than a 2.5, 3 point favorite, they cover 75% of the time. 75% of the last 20 games, the Chiefs cover those tight games. It tells you everything about that team, doesn't it? In terms of kind of when it's the difference isn't too much between those teams, and it's going to be expected to be a tight game. The Chiefs just know how to win those close games every single time. It feels like.
And I said this on FFT this morning, and people might have thought it sounded weird, but I think it's true. Like, if it's a 2-score game, I might actually lean towards the Eagles winning. Yeah. Like, if you're going to tell me one of these teams is somehow just going to play a perfect game and win by 10 or 14, then it might be the Eagles. But if it's going to be a 1-score game, I think the Chiefs might be 2-1 favorites.
Yeah, very tough to argue. Again, history very much on the side of that. So again, moving on to the Super Bowl in that sense then. What do you think the keys to the victory are, or if there is going to be a victory for the Chiefs, what do you think the keys to the victory will be?
It's keeping this 3rd/4th down magic alive. And they do, like, I know that they almost come off because of the 3rd down stuff, because of the late game heroics as a team that just gets bored. And then when it actually matters, okay, we'll do it. And I really think that this Eagles defense is probably too talented to do that against.
Yeah.
But again, it's been the case throughout Patrick Mahomes' career that not just on 3rd downs, but 3rd and long, he is otherworldly. Just on a consistent basis, converting 3rd and 12, 3rd and 9 on plays that aren't even what was designed to happen. And so I think maybe more of a key for the Eagles is don't allow that to happen. When you get them into a situation where you have a chance to stomp out the drive, don't let Mahomes go get points as he so often does. I'm really fascinated to see what Spags does on the defensive side of the ball, because obviously nobody's been able to stop Saquon Barkley this year. He has been one of the greatest running back seasons that we've seen in the last 10 years. At the same time, if you sell out to stop Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown is the very best wide receiver in the NFL when the other team's playing cover one.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to, and maybe you just double him and still try to sell out to stop Saquon Barkley. But I think we get a mixed bag from Spags. I think you get a lot of pressure, and Jalen Hurts is going to be better against pressure than he's been all year, because that's been his kryptonite.
100%, yeah. And I think, again, there's one of my favorite bets last week or 2 weeks ago against the Bills was Mahomes over 40 rushing yards. I'll love it again this week. Pays nearly 2-1. And again, it just feels like that playoff magic of Mahomes when the game's on the line, you need a play. Mahomes is not sneaking, he's running for 10, 15 yards at a time. His over-under, his longest rush is 11.5 yards. I like that over as well.
Yeah.
I assume the Eagles will have a plan for it. The Chiefs don't do many designed runs for Mahomes, but when they hit, they hit. When they come in such important moments, a touchdown against the Bills in the championship game. Yeah, I think that's a real a point that can be attacked.
I'll be really interested too, those young pass rushers for the Eagles. Can they be disciplined?
Yeah.
Because I know how bad they want to go get Mahomes, but where he usually gets you is where you lose that lane integrity, and then he finds the gap. And then all of a sudden you're right. That 11.5 looks ridiculous because he just ran for 28. I think I like, in terms of the props, both the Mahomes rushing yards and the Hurts rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
I do think, and I made this joke earlier in the week, but it might be true. If the Bills had Jalen Hurts, they might be going to the Super Bowl right now, because I don't think the Chiefs are going to stop the tush push it from Philadelphia the way they stopped Buffalo's.
Yeah, I mean, the lines, the Mahomes line, just Byron, you mentioned over 40 or 40 plus. It's over 31.5, and that's as big as I've seen, or over under 31.5. That's as big as I've seen that for a while. It's always one in the playoffs and Super Bowl I always love to kind of look at. I think he averages about 25 rushing yards a game in the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes. He's going to break one of these runs. There was a prop I saw, because with it being the Super Bowl, it seems to be so many just extra markets. Fourth quarter rushing yards, Patrick Mahomes over 4.5 rush yards. When that game's on the line, when it's tight, when they're driving to potentially win the game, sneak a third down that breaks down, it runs, and it feels like a real good line to go for.
The only problem is that you generally have that -3 or -4 coming at the end of the game.
It's the kneels, potentially the kneels.
Yeah, Carson Wentz in for the kneels.
Yeah.
On all levels, that'd be perfect.
If we see Carson Wentz on Sunday, Heath, I'm worried for you. I'm worried for the Chiefs.
Well, I'm sure we're going to see him. They're going to have to talk about the fact that, he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, even though he didn't play. Now he's going to win a Super Bowl against the Eagles when he doesn't play.
Is there a concern, Heath? So where we've kind of see, secondly in the Super Bowl, or the only team that had kind of real success against Mahomes was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in the 2020 season. Pressure inside, in the middle of the line, in Mahomes' face was kind of what got the job done for Tampa. Right. Is there a concern with this Philly defensive line that they could take over the game in a similar way to that the Bucs did?
So I think that the interior pressure is a more interesting question because of the change with moving to the outside. Because when he was playing at guard, they probably had the best 1, 2, 3 at the 2 guards and center position in the league. I still think, like another thing that matches up really strange in this game is Mahomes' ADOT is pretty much the lowest in the league, or second lowest in the league. He gets the ball out quick and he doesn't throw it very far. That makes it more difficult to get that pressure up the middle. The thing the Eagles have been great at so far this year is limiting yak. They just have not given up yak to opposing pass catchers. The Chiefs are going to have yak, because they know that there's a little bit of concern, like you either giving up the pressure on the left edge, which they just can't do anymore. They did that earlier in the year, or you're going to give it up a little bit through the middle. I think Mahomes will get the ball out. I think it's going to come down to whether the Eagles secondary can continue tackling like they have, or whether Xavier Worthy can break a couple tackles or make somebody miss.
They've got as well potentially Brandon Graham coming back to bolster that D line as well as another. I know he's been out for.
That's an interesting one because it's like we've seen it with Isaiah Pacheco, who's another one of the props that I like. His under on yardage, he's had absolutely nothing since he came back from injury. Like we see this with a variety of guys that even if it's not an injury that you think should necessarily limit it, you're fully healthy. Like you haven't played real football for so long that it's just hard to get back into that speed.
Absolutely. And just showing out Xavier Worthy there, he's subject to one of my favorite props. Fastest ball carrier in the game, as tracked by Next Gen Stats, plus 250, the fastest player in the NFL. Saquon Barkley is favored at, I think, plus 100.
Well, I think that comes back to like the Eagles tackling. Yeah. Because like, Worthy's got to have some space to go. It seems like Saquon always finds some space.
Kind of my viewpoint is basically you're betting plus 250 that Xavier Worthy gets a 10-yard play.
Right.
If he gets one 10-yard rush, a 10-yard run, receiving even, there's a fair chance that he's got to pick up speed to get there.
Right.
Yeah, if Barkley gets a 70-yard touchdown, then yeah, it's probably dead in the water though. But at plus 250, I'm happy to take that on. So
yeah.
Grand. So what we're going to move on to is our props comp. So I sent you these over, Heath. So hopefully you've had a quick look through them at the very least. I think I can bet your first one. So we're going with the side. So it's either Chiefs minus 1.5 or Eagles plus 1.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the Chiefs minus 1.5. I'm a homer going out on a limb. Hopefully they come through for me this time.
Fingers crossed. For all of us here, good teams doing great teams cover.
Saying that like it's play of the Chiefs, or please they come through for us. Like we've not seen this dozens of times before at this point. But it's good to keep that. I think it's good to keep that mentality of it. I think around.
Yeah, and I think like there's a certain viewpoint of the Chiefs bandwagon fan, and I just like to remind people that like when I became a Chiefs fan, Todd Blackledge and Bill Kinney were the team's quarterbacks. I went through the Steve DeBerg years, the Elvis Gerbach years, like all Tyler Thigpen, Brody Croyle. Like
I remember the Hard Knocks with the QB debate.
Yes.
Yeah, glory days.
Alex Smith was for a long time the best Chiefs quarterback of my lifetime. I mean, we had Joe Montana for a couple of years, but he was old.
Yeah, Matt Castle. I remember coming off the Patriots season where he was a starter. Yeah,
half a season of Rich Gannon, then let him go to the Raiders and win an MVP.
Yeah, you can still feel the sting in that one. Yeah. So certainly struggled with Elvis Gerbach, one of the all-time football names as well.
Yes.
Maybe not one of the all-time football quarterbacks, but one of the best names in football history, in my opinion. Got the total is over under. It's 48.5. I'm pretty sure that's still that's still the line. 48.5. What do you think?
I think that's too high. I think I would probably go. It's never fun to play the under, but
it's too short to play the under.
These defenses and these defensive coordinators are really, really good. And so I think I'd prefer the under on that with just a slight lean.
All right. Again, it feels like an easy one for if you're picking a Chiefs win, but MVP?
I think we probably. Is there anybody more creative than Patrick Mahomes? It's got to be Patrick Mahomes.
I think it's a lot easier to pick a non-quarterback if you pick the Eagles. Because there's so many different narratives. Whereas it's Mahomes unless Kelsey scores 3 touchdowns, I think. Or Chris Jones has like
Chris Jones, maybe. Is there a little bit of me? And again, this is obviously Carl Loftus. I like maybe potentially as well, like to just make potentially a game-deciding play, especially if it's potentially low scoring as well, and you don't get the volume maybe of the pass touchdown, and then just somebody who makes that huge defensive play. I guess we're not seeing that often. I mean, Von Miller won. Was he the last defensive player to win it? And he kind of just took over the game, didn't he, in Super Bowl 50? Was that maybe the last defensive player to win?
Can we get what kind of odds can I get on a Harrison Butker MVP?
I think name your price is the odds for that one. Yeah, I think that's probably
not be a popular winner, would it, of MVP?
Donald Trump will be in the stadium. He might be a very popular winner in some circumstances. So we might move on before we get cancelled. First touchdown scorer.
I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts.
Can well see it.
The Chiefs are going to be behind at some point in the game. Might as well be behind to start the game.
Exactly. Well, if the season doesn't start to the AFC title game, the Super Bowl doesn't start till halftime, right? Is that the?
It's exactly right.
Yeah.
How many points down? Sorry, I know Byron, we're doing the pits. But Heath, how many points down do you start to get worried? Because we've seen them be double digit, 10 points down in several of these games. Is there like a number where you start going, oh, this might be getting too much?
So it's relative to how much time is left. And who won the coin toss. Assuming the Chiefs have deferred, I think if they were down by more than 21 in the first half, I would be worried.
Yeah.
If the Eagles are getting the ball to start the second half, if they're down by more than 14, then I'm probably pretty worried.
Yeah.
If it's the fourth quarter and it's probably the same thing, 14.
And there's some teams as well, and the Eagles, certainly one of them, are built to play with the lead as well. So,
right.
If they're 14 and getting the ball, could be a while before you see it again when they just decide to lean on, AJ Brown's probably not having a big game, but Barkley and Hurts rushing attempts are going to be way up.
And they get into that function where they've really, like you talk about 3 yards a carry. I mean, if they go 3 yards a carry, they've got 4th and 1, and they're going to get that.
Yeah.
So it does get really tough if they've got a lead.
And if the Chiefs try jumping the tush push, we know the refs will just give them it anyway. So
that's true.
For all the Chiefs anti-referee stuff, I've never heard they say we're just going to give them the touchdown if you jump off sides again. So that is an Eagles special
footprint. Yeah, the Frankie Louvu blueprint. Do you think Spags has been dialing something up potentially, taking that inspiration from last week?
It is interesting for all of the Chiefs referee talk. Mm-hmm. Like I've seen 2 things in this postseason with referees that I had never seen before, and neither one had to do with the Chiefs.
No.
Like we had the tush push where if you guys don't stop, we'll turn this car around right now. And then we had I don't know if you remember, but there was the Josh Allen wanted the defensive penalty in the end zone and didn't get it and was complaining and goes off to the sideline. They come back from the commercial and the official is over on the bench apologizing to Josh Allen because they should have called a penalty.
Wild.
Yeah.
And again, it got some coverage, but again, if that was a 15 jersey,
can you imagine?
I think there would have been a press release.
Yes,
from the NFL. Yeah, at the very least. So again, this one kind of leans into the total of the over/under, but total touchdowns 5.5 over/under.
I will go under 5.5. Oh man. Yeah, I'm gonna go under 5.5.
And again, the half isn't if the referees give you one. That is just a way to split 5 and 6.
Right. So yeah, it's a full touchdown if the officials say, you did this too many times. Okay.
Although we haven't seen one yet, actually, but I presume they give the full 6 points.
Yeah.
It'd be wild if they just gave 3. And speaking of 3, total field goals over under 3.5.
I'll go over on 3.5 field goals.
That's where Butker gets his MVP. Are we seeing a successful 2-point conversion?
Yes.
Highest scoring quarter?
I think that makes sense if it is the 4th. Like that's the way I think it's generally in Chiefs games. That's when the most points get scored.
Next one is coin toss, and I know you said over under, but what I meant to say is heads or tails.
Yes. Yeah, I think coin toss has to be tails. Tails never fails.
So we hear. The national anthem, will it be over or under 120.5 seconds? I know very little of the singer. Apparently he was involved in the Garfield movie.
The Garfield movie.
That's as much as I can tell you. So thankfully this is not on a Monday because he might not turn up.
Well, I was going to make a joke about how everybody hates the Monday after the Super Bowl. But I have no idea. I am going to say under. I'm going to guess that I will definitely hear less than 120 seconds of it.
Very, very, very fair bet. And will the opening kickoff be a touchback?
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
And we do have a tiebreaker. What color will the Gatorade be that is poured on the winning coach?
So I know historically, I think orange is the most common, but I've been doing a lot of research on this one. As of late, blue is making a big push. And I can tell you from watching my sons travel basketball, all the kids like the blue. Purple.
Gatorade.
I think purple is the second most common behind blue, but I don't know. It seems weird for the Chiefs to use anything other than red. I'm gonna go with blue. It'd be really great if they could somehow have a black and a white. Just
I'm not sure black Gatorade would take off, but I'd love to see it. I will drink basically anything that gets released on a limited edition. I'd love to see black Gatorade. Mystery flavor. Don't tell me what it is. I just want.
It should be black licorice for sure.
Ooh.
I might pass. Well, that's the end of our props comp, Heath.
And that was a great promo for Gatorade as well. We're just doing Gatorade promos for free now.
Yeah, it's literally what I'm drinking as well. So I've been a bit sick this week, so I'm trying to get my what do you call them, electrolyte up because, well, just spilling the beans to Heath here as well. I failed our fourfold challenge every week on our podcast. We do a fourfold where we pick an over and under, a favorite, and an underdog as a draft, and I lost this year, so I have to do the Hot Ones challenge on Saturday. So I've been sick for about a week, not COVID apparently, but something that's like it. So I wouldn't mind losing my sense of taste come Friday night and just suffer Sunday morning with the outcome of Hot Ones challenge. But
so what exactly is the Hot Ones challenge?
Oh, so the Hot Ones is it's a talk show where basically you get 10 incredibly hot sauces. They're under my desk right now, and you douse a chicken wing in each one, and they go from kind of spicy to the hottest sauce in the world. Is my understanding, like 2.8 million Scoville units. So yeah, Paul and Joe,
I'm sorry this happened to you.
Me too. I won last year, but last year we didn't have forfeit or prize for the winner. Oh, last year actually we had a charity donation, which I thought was much more kind-spirited. And then we decided, no, actually, we'd rather punish ourselves while still making charitable donations. So
that's great. No, that's. I will tell you, since we're doing promo spots now, for Gatorade, we got a new sponsor last week. It was Goldbelly.
Oh, nice.
And the 2 days after the Chiefs-Bills game, I received a shipment of wings from the original House of Buffalo Wings in Buffalo.
How was it?
So I'm going to have them during the Super Bowl.
Very nice.
Something I couldn't, and you can't eat buffalo wings when your team's playing the team from Buffalo, but you can certainly eat them 2 weeks later after you beat the team from Buffalo.
I was gonna say it's good that Buffalo finally get to a Super Bowl. Just not the Bills. Yes, I'll be eating wings that will not be as delicious as that on Saturday.
No, I'm afraid that you're not going to like wings anymore after this.
Yeah, well, that is a risk we have to live with, I suppose. My wife's looking forward to it. She's going to be queuing the wings up and watching me cry and suffer, which she seems really excited about. I can't figure why. It's she didn't even do the fourfold challenge. She's just enjoying
I would think by now she'd had enough of watching you cry on Sundays as a Cowboys fan.
You would think so, right? And yeah, here we are. Yeah, another weekend ruined by my tears.
It's just apathy at this point for the Cowboys.
I think it's going to turn around now. You got Brian Schottenheimer.
Yeah, that's going to go well.
And as Jerry Jones says, it can't be all smiles and glory holes.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel a little bit guilty. We're going to live broadcast Byron's hell going through the Hot Wings challenge, Hot Wings challenge.
When is this?
Saturday night, so it's going to be Saturday night. I think we said 4 p.m. Eastern, so 10 p.m. UK time, 4 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
It's going to be on our Twitter, YouTube, and I'm starting to feel real bad because it's going to be hell for him, but I think I might enjoy it while I'm watching him. And then he's going to have myself and our other co-host, Joe, berating him about his awful betting picks while he's suffering eating the wings as well. So it's going to be fun.
I thought Sam was interviewing.
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I will. I'm coaching a basketball tournament this weekend. I don't have the schedule yet. If we're playing during the game, then I'll look forward to that after the game. And if not, I'll definitely be tuning in.
Appreciate it.
Cool. Well, look forward to seeing you on Saturday, Heath. There'll be tears in my eyes. Not that I'm so pleased to see you, but probably because I am just in so much pain. But thank you very much for hopping on with us. And we'll let you get on with your day. And go Chiefs.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks again there to Heath Cummings from Fantasy Football Today at CBS Sports. Great to have him on to give us a Chiefs perspective on the Super Bowl. Great to have a guest from CBS Sports on as well. What a coup. Well done, Byron, using your contacts there. Yeah, getting us a great interview with Heath. We're going to be the main body of the show. And Joe, missing for the first part, welcome to the Super Bowl preview. How's your build up to the Super Bowl been so far, Joe?
Yeah, it's been a bit quiet, actually. Obviously, I guess like most people didn't pay too much attention to the Pro Bowl. It certainly lost its juice now. Yeah, it's just flown by. It feels weird that, yes, it's in Sunday already, and just, did a bit of research, looked up here and there, but it's been fairly quiet, not done much.
Good stuff. Well, great to have you on for our main portion of the show. Before we get into kind of the preview of the game, because that's what we're all here for, right? A couple of bits of news coming out, as typically there is around Super Bowl week. So where shall we start? Let's start. The NFL have announced a new international location to play games in Australia, Melbourne, Australia, to be precise, and the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the famous MCG. Be over 100, at least 100,000 people with how big that stadium is. More known for hosting cricket test matches on Boxing Day, a site of many England hammering by the Aussies in the Ashes. But the LA Rams are going to be playing a game there, starting a multi-year deal. Yeah, what do we make of the NFL reaching all the way to Oz?
Yeah, I think it's wild. I think it's great. I mean, I thought there'd be some other countries that would get a game first, just with the long way to go for a regular season game. I thought maybe a preseason game perhaps to allow teams. I'm really interested to see how the NFL does it. Are they just going to automatically get a bye week? I did see someone's theory of it'll be week 1, and I think the strong rumors it'll be Rams Eagles, but Rams versus whoever will then be on the Monday night the following week in a doubleheader, which would make sense as well. It gives them a little more time to kind of recover, but Australia, I think it's 19 hours from LA, time difference. So, you're really at a tough one, jet lag wise and conditioning yourself wise. So, yeah, I'm really not sure how the NFL will play it, but I mean, great for Australia. I mean, those fans must have, we thought we'd never get a game, and obviously it's become second nature in the UK now. But Australia is so many worlds away that, yeah, incredible for them and incredible for the NFL as well. It really is globalizing at a hell of a rate.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing kind of, particularly in the kicking game, kind of a lot more Aussies, especially through college, I think, as well. I've also got John Milat playing this big game. Obviously, the game in the Super Bowl was obviously a rugby player beforehand. So, yeah, a lot of links and a lot of ties. What time are they going to play this game? Just it's 19 hours from LA, 3 hours difference than Eastern. Yeah, I have no idea what time they're playing the game, but great location for it. Aussie for sports fans, rabid sports fans, so they'll no doubt get behind it. In Melbourne, it'll be a fantastic showcase for the NFL and for that side of the world.
My biggest hope is that the Rams or whoever the opposing team is, when they win, have some real tradition for the MCG and give a good old sprinkler celebration. That's all I'm kind of hoping for. Throw it back to 2010, I believe.
Graham Swan reference.
Graham Swan, yeah. One of the all-time England cricket memories, I think, for me, certainly. So I kind of fell out of love with cricket in the last 10 years or so, just not enough time in the day and such but that always holds a special place. So
yeah,
that'd be good to see a throwback to. The Vikings would do it. They would know.
Yeah,
they're good on their operations, but yeah, I'm not too sure about the Rams or anyone else. But the Vikings would know.
Yeah, should be a great location starter there for the NFL. We're hoping to hear Dublin are going to get a game at some point this week, which would likely be the Pittsburgh Steelers. But we will see. Croke Park, that'll be an incredible place for a game as well. In Dublin, and just one of the best cities. Incredible place to be. Other news then, two other big bits of news. Let's start with the biggest one. Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns, reigning defensive player of the year, requested a trade. He's had enough of fucking losing. It's not about getting to Canton. It's about get into the Super Bowl, and he's 29 now, still got some prime years left. It was interesting because the Browns Hierarchy was saying only kind of in the press last week won't entertain a trade for him. Myles Garrett's going to force their hand now. What do we make to the news that Garrett's looking for a new home?
It's not surprising. I think he's mentioned it plenty of times before, and they are probably in a rebuild just with where their squad is. They're obviously the disaster with Deshaun Watson, who's going to be out for all of next year. So yeah, they're in a bit of a rock and a hard place because you don't want to lose your best players, and it's not just like, a best player on, a said team like the Titans, for example. This is one of the best defenders, top 3 in the league. So you don't want to get rid of your best players if you want to rebuild, but also if he wants it. And yeah, I don't know where they're going to go with the quarterback, because there's not like there's a lot of them out there to choose from and suddenly become a good team in the strongest, conference, possibly division, in the NFL. So I think it's tricky. I'll be curious what they want for him, if they'll try and price it out too much, because there's still no guarantee that they're going to trade him. But there's been reports where, he'll only get a first and maybe a couple of seconds and a player. But then also other people have said, you look at Khalil Mack and what he managed to get back in the day, multiple first. So yeah, I'd be curious how they do it. I think if they traded before the draft, it's a massive hit to their cap. So it would make sense to do it afterwards in money wise. And actually, because how the drafts line up with the quarterbacks, it seems like the year after might be the year to try and get one. So maybe try and stock up if you are going to trade him for them 2026 drafts, so you can get the capital, have a stinker of a year, plus also have all the information. And yeah, some of the teams have been floated out, some strange ones. Some, I've heard Raiders quite a lot, but why would you go from the Browns to the Raiders? Makes no sense. But there's some other ones out there which have been mentioned.
Who do you think, that was going to be my next question, kind of, where do you think he'll land, or where do you think are kind of the best potential spots that are realistic given teams' draft capital and salary cap situations? Because he's still got 2 years left of a huge contract.
Yeah. My early favourite was Atlanta, who perennially need a pass rusher. I think you look at something like, sorry, I should have had the number up of Atlanta's draft pick, but teen draft pick, first round pick, maybe second round pick, or a first this year and a first next year, which I think would probably suit Cleveland more, getting that 26th pick. Again, they've already got an early pick this year. They don't necessarily need, a first and a second this year on top. So I think you go Kirk Cousins. He's due for divorce. Cleveland needs somebody with a warm body at quarterback. Cousins has come out this week and mentioned that he was injured after their 6-3 start, which was never really reported, so you never know how much to take on it. But I think Cousins would be a good fit in the Stefanski offense. I think, go first, maybe 26 first on top of it, and maybe even someone like Kyle Pitts, who is due no money guaranteed from Atlanta. I think he's very much on the trade block. Cleveland need weapons. I know Njoku's there already, but Kyle Pitts isn't a traditional tight end. Truthfully, he's not been a very good tight end since his rookie season, but he's the kind of player you could be a reclamation project. And Stefanski, I think, has got good usage out of his tight ends historically. I think Atlanta should be favorites for it. The finances don't look great on paper, but once they get rid of Cousins, they lose $10 million if they get rid of Kyle Pitts, which I'm certain they're going to do. It's a lot more affordable. Then you just restructure a little bit. You can move Grady Jarrett on as well, who's been more cold than hot in his NFL career, or dare say, and due a ton of money. The other one, I think, again, is kind of a screaming out for, would be a great fit. Just put him on Detroit opposite Aiden Hutchinson. They can afford it. They are not afraid to make moves. They gave up a first-round pick to go up and get Jameson Williams a couple of years ago. And, I mean, that's probably worked out from what he is now. But that was a huge gamble at the time for a player on an ACL. They're not bothered about sacrificing picks. Brad Holmes makes good picks in the second day 2 onwards. So, they have struggled for a pass rush opposite Aiden Hutchinson. I think that would be a slam dunk. And I think crucially for both of those, it gets Myles Garrett out of the AFC, which Cleveland do not want to see Myles Garrett again, because
I think
he's the best defensive player in football.
Yeah, I think my pick is similar lines as the Commanders, just with everything they've got on, because you've got your quarterback. Like Falcons are still, Penix played well, but they're not. You don't know if he's going to be the quarterback. Who knows what happens next year going forward? The Commanders are settled. It's like we've got our quarterback, and someone like Myles Garrett, I think he would like. I'd rather go to Commanders who seem set up better. They've got a defensive coach. They've got plenty of cap with him on this rookie deal. They've got some good players around there. Yes, they probably need more weapons, which would be handy in the draft. But why not just gamble next year's first and maybe another first, because you've got your quarterback. That's the main thing. You can pick up wide receivers. We've seen this in the second round, third round, and you've got premium talent on the line, which they need. And I think, this Dan Quinn's defense, it's played well without many superstars. And then to get Garrett on there, can he do something like he did with Parsons and, keep him up there in the top 3 conversation? I think that would be huge. And with new ownership, wanting to do splashes, and the GM has made plenty of great moves. So why not the Commanders? With similar lines to the teams you've mentioned.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think the Commanders is the number one. I think the favourite. When the line opened the other day, the Cowboys were favourites to go. It made me laugh so much. But yeah, it's the Commanders. I think for me, that seems to make more sense. They've got the money, they've got the cap space, so they've got the quarterback position there. They're likely to win, given where they're at. And I don't think it's going to take multiple first. I think you might get a combination of like a first and a second, or a first and a third and a something for him, because
I think the big thing is how many teams are really interested. Like really interested.
31 teams should be interested, because
if that's the case, then it might be multiple firsts.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. Like,
yeah.
I know Khalil Mack was a lot, but Khalil Mack I think was 24.
Yeah, it's 29. Very different.
It's very different. Obviously, Garrett's got a better body of work than Mack. Mack was a hell of a player. He's been an incredible player most of his career. He's had a couple of down years, but he was a big player at 24. But Myles Garrett at 29, I dare say, if he's not the best defensive player in the league, he's certainly in the top 3 over the last 5 years, and including now. So I think that's kind of where I say, like, maybe I think it might be two. I think it might be 2 first. It might be a first and a second, depending. It wouldn't stun me if they don't get any picks this year as well, if they just go 26 first and 26 second.
Yeah.
Because again, like, it's a lot easier to take. If you're the team giving up the picks, it's like, hey, take next year. So we're going to be good this year. We're not going to have a bad year going forward, so that's going to be a late pick. Everyone thinks that. I think that ultimately depends what the market is going to be. If a lot of teams are interested, then I don't think 2 firsts is outlandish.
Moving on then quickly to maybe a player that maybe less desired. It feels a bit unfair to go from one to that, but that's just the news. The LA Rams informed Cooper Kupp that they are actively seeking to trade him, and relatively quickly by the sounds of it. We're 3 years away from Cooper Kupp being a Triple Crown winner. Obviously, injury is a huge part of his drop off in production. He's Super Bowl MVP, of course. And the emergence of Puka Nacua as the true number 1 wide receiver for the LA Rams. Surprised to see the Rams looking to move Kupp, or kind of expected, given I think he's going to be 20 million against the salary cap if the Rams keep him.
Yeah, I think the writing was on the wall for this one. He's going to be 32 at start next season. I think you're looking at a late round pick swap, maybe. That salary has to go somewhere, and I presume he's going to renegotiate wherever he signs, because he's not getting 20 million. I'd be very surprised he's not looked like that player this year. Sadly, down the stretch, he really looked done. I mean, if Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are taking you out of the offense for Jordan Whittington, who I do like as a player, but is nothing like Pete Cooper Kupp. Let's be honest. If they're taking him out in the biggest moments, and he did have a big game against the Eagles, but like the biggest moments of going down the stretch, it's very telling. So he's even more injured than we thought, and he's going to have a bounce back year. I struggle to see it, sadly. I think he's closer to done than not done by a lot. I think the best fit, just stay in LA. Chargers need bodies and weapons. Harbaugh loves a good all-round wide receiver who's going to put his body on the line. And Cooper Kupp, he's not the biggest guy, but he has never wanted for effort or for blocking or for putting his body on the line for his team. So I think he'll be a great fit for Harbaugh's philosophy, style of football, bringing a couple of rookie wide receivers who can learn from him. Lad McConkey obviously hit the ground running, similar kind of receivers. Obviously, McConkey's the younger man, but he shows a lot of what Cooper Kupp was at his best. Obviously, a long way to go to be Cooper Kupp, but I think that's ultimately the best fit. Cooper Kupp obviously seems very happy in LA, doesn't want to move, get him out the NFC again. It's out of division, out of conference, so seems like an easy fit to me. I don't think anybody should be bringing him in and expecting him to be a wide receiver 1, though. I've seen New England rumored for that, and it's like, I think the best you can have him there is like be a mentor, be a wide receiver 3, and seems like ultimately one of them great locker room, great veteran teammate guys, glue guy. But I don't think you should be expecting him to be someone who's leading your team in receiving next year, sadly.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, with the contract, the writing was on the wall. It's crazy because you just think back, he was one of them wide receivers, especially in the Super Bowl, when you watched it, where it's like they're going to aim for Cup. That's all they're going to aim for, and they still couldn't stop him. But yeah, there's some interesting teams. I think there could be quite a few teams interested, so they might be able to get like a 4th or 5th around that mark. Just if there's competition, there's like certain teams, like you mentioned, where you get him as your 2nd or 3rd. A team like the Texans or even someone like the Commanders. They need, like I mentioned, more teams. Possibly like the Ravens, who have in the past have brought in a elderly wide receiver like Baldwin and Steve Smith and managed to like extend their career, or someone even like it could be somewhere like the Cowboys, where it's like we got Cooper Kupp, the Triple Crown winner. It's a great best signing we've done. That's Jerry Jones, by the way.
Great Jerry Jones. Yeah. I love how you chose to use the word elderly rather than like veteran.
Veteran. I do apologize. Well, we're all elderly. That sounds, now the knees are feeling probably similar age.
32-year-old Cooper Kupp, you old bastard.
Oh yeah, he's younger than us. The veteran, then.
Good stuff. Yeah, I'll be interested to see where it ends up. Like I say, I feel maybe the Bengals. Maybe if T Higgins goes, as probably maybe if he hits the market, and then I know you've got like Yoshivas and Cooper Kupp maybe behind you. I don't know. Be interesting to see what happens anyway. And then only other bit of news really today. Sadly, principal owner of the Chicago Bears, Virginia McCaskey, sadly passed away. 102 years old. Can you imagine being that old? 102 years old. Yeah. So ones in the NFL passed.
And never seen a 4,000-yard quarterback for the Bears. That's good going.
That was a wish on the deathbed. Yeah. Give me a 4,000-yard.
Her last game as Bears owner, though, was beating the Packers. So
that's it was that what she was waiting for. The Packers the Bears to beat the Packers in Lambeau, and then she could pass on.
So so many bad jokes just could like come from that. So we'll skip past that.
You know what I thought earlier as well, like and again we might have to edit this out, but like it's obviously she was 100, 102, and like you always talk about like that 85 Bears team, how good it was. Now that was last time on the Super Bowl. She'd been 60 at that point. She was like old then when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, she was older than Cooper Kupp is now.
she was a veteran of age. Yeah,
she was a veteran of age. Anyway, R.I.P. Virginia McCaskey. Super Bowl. Should we talk about that? That's what we're here for. Super Bowl preview. Yeah. Rematch then of Super Bowl 57. It's the Eagles. It's the Chiefs. We're going to share our best bets. We're going to talk all kind of bets. We're going to talk the daft prop bets. We're going to talk the main game. We're going to break that down. We've got a bit of a fourfold draft coming on as well. To finish the season. And then we've got our prop bets competition to finish off that you've heard Heath have a go at already. So, let's get to it. The last bet slide of the season, if you're watching on YouTube. And Joe, you've done a cracking job with it. It looks splendid. Guys, how are we seeing this one go? Super Bowl 59. Eagles are 1.5 point underdogs. Over-under is 48.5. Where are you at with this game?
I'm on the Eagles plus 1.5. It's a really good matchup. It's a really close matchup. I think the line is pretty much perfect. I'd like the Eagles to be +2.5, +3.5, obviously, but I think it's Eagles, yeah. I think the defense is so well set. That whole line is killer. It's hard to feel super confident because it is the Chiefs on the other side. It is Patrick Mahomes on the other side. And they're saving the best football for when it matters, as they always do. As we touched on with our preview with Heath, one of my bets is Mahomes over 40 rushing yards +153. He's going to take off a few times. He's going to find that little lane and take his, over 11.5 rushing line. Over under, I think he's hitting that clearly for longest rush. But I just think the Eagles have got too much. Between Barkley, their three main pass catchers are all fit. Goddard, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. And speaking of Devonta Smith, he's my second bet on the sheet here. For him to have 6 or more receptions, 80+ receiving yards, anytime touchdown, +850. I do have a little bit of a stat pack on Devonta Smith if you want me to share at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. All this, Byron, this is your last opportunity of the year. Get it all out.
All right, so Devonta Smith is kind of my also my long shot MVP bet at 65-1 +6,500. So I'm just going to blurb a little about Devonta Smith and the Chiefs' defense here. So the Chiefs have been the NFL's premier slot funnel defense this year. They allow the highest target share, the second most yards per game, and the most first down to receivers lining up in the slot. When the Eagles' top 3 weapons have all played together, Smith runs a team-leading 55.7% of his routes from the slot. He also gives him the best cornerback matchup of the day against Jamari Conner. When Devonta Smith in the slot, yards per route run is 1.81 when he's out wide. It's 2.92 when he's in the slot. I think he's going to get targeted often, especially against a blitz. He's going to be the open man. Also, in previous matchups against Steve Spagnuolo's defense, he has played him 3 times, gone 7 for 122, 7 for 100, 6 for 99, total of 20 for 321 in 3 games against the Chiefs. I think he's the kind of the Jenga piece of this game for the Eagles. He gets open, like I say, early and often. He excels against his defense. He'll excel especially against Jamari Conner, who's the weak spot of the Chiefs secondary. So yeah, he's my same game parlay here, but also he's my kind of sneaky who I think is going to be the game breaker if there is one for the Eagles.
Excellent. Yeah. Interesting shout, Devonta Smith. I like it though. Well put together, +850, 17-2. Great odds for your little parlay or treble there, Byron. I love the Mahomes over rush props as well. We talked a little bit about it with Heath already, but I love the line. It's over 31.5, which is a bigger line for Mahomes than it usually is. I think which suggests maybe there might be some thought that Eagles pass rush might be able to get pressure and he might be able to find his way out, break a couple. But I love over 31.5. Uses his legs to convert key third downs in particular. When you think he hasn't got a shot. And the prop, my favourite prop, and I should have put it on the sheet really, Patrick Mahomes, rush yards in the fourth quarter, over 4.5. He's gonna run once in the fourth quarter. It does bring the kneels into play potentially, but I feel like he's gonna break one in the fourth quarter against the pass rush or to keep a third down alive, to keep a drive alive on a third down, and break off 10, 15, 20. Over 4.5. That's probably my favourite bet of the week. But because it was a tiny prop, -110 or 10-11, Patrick Mahomes fourth quarter, over 4.5 rush yards. Is my favourite bet of the week. But Joe, what have you got going on? You've got a couple of plus money bets there.
Yeah, my first one is similar with how you mentioned about Mahomes rush yards. I've got for Hurts and Mahomes anytime touchdown at +625. Obviously, Mahomes is the one who bumps up that them odds, and Hurts is usually nailed on. He obviously doesn't do it all the time, but anywhere near the 5-yard line, it's normally a Hurts tush push and gets in. So I think that could happen. And then I think, like you said, I think Mahomes could escape quite a lot. I wonder if because obviously they pulled out the trick play last week. Is he going to do something similar? And I just think because I feel this game is going to be similar to last time. I think there's going to be a lot of points, a lot of yards. Even though both defenses are good, going into that Super Bowl, everyone was saying the Eagles' defense was amazing, I think they brought in Vic Fangio to like help them out, and it didn't help that much because it's got a lot of points and yards. So I think it's going to be a really interesting. Yeah, I think it's going to be lots of points. Both teams going off, and it's a weird thing where I would normally say, oh, it's a turnover battle, but the Chiefs have lost a turnover battle the last 2 games and still won. But the Chiefs, I think the Eagles have got 15-0 is their turnover battle so far this playoffs, which is nuts. So if they get anything, so that's averaging quite a lot each game. So
it's 5 a game.
Yeah, there you go. So like if they can do something similar, then obviously they're the favourites to win that. And then my other bet is I've got Hollywood Brown to get some yards, receptions, and a touchdown. So I've got him in over 50 receiving yards, over 4 receptions, and anytime touchdown at plus 310. I was impressed how he played against the last few weeks. It feels like he's the one who, after coming back from injury, can open up this offense, and that's not just all on Kelsey's back. And obviously, I know Worthy's been playing well as well, but I feel like Hollywood Brown's got that experience, and there's always one wide receiver who seems to like go off in the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. So if there's plenty of points, plenty of yards, then why not Hollywood Brown to get some stuff?
I'm with you. I think one of these 3 veterans, is going to be the one for the Chiefs. I think the Eagles might sell out a little bit to try and take away Kelsey and maybe Xavier Worthy. That leaves you D-Hop. He's not looked great. Hollywood Brown, or my pick, Juju Smith-Schuster. He's been anonymous pretty much all season long. Caught 2 big balls against the Bills in the FC Championship game when we went 2 for 60. I think he gets a couple of receptions here, and if we see for over 1.5 receptions and 16 yards, I feels low for Juju. So I love the lines. I've doubled them up. So over 1.5 receptions, over 15.5 receiving yards, plus 120 for Juju Smith-Schuster. I just think someone unexpected on the Chiefs is going to get a bit more work. And I'm just plucking that it'll be Juju at plus 120. And Joe, I'm same as you. I like points in this one. We saw it was 38-35 last time in Super Bowl 57. Understand the teams, obviously, 2 years down the line, maybe a little bit different. But they've still got a lot of stars, still got a lot of firepower. The Eagles have this sudden ability to score that maybe they didn't have before in Barkley and co. So I like over 48.5 as well in this one. Matchup wise, we've asked Heath already for the Chiefs. We're going to ask Phil from an Eagles perspective, our next guest. But what would you say is the biggest matchup, the biggest key to victory for either side?
I think for the Eagles to win, Jalen Hurts can't shit the bed against the blitz, ultimately. Not to put too fine of a point on it, but it has been a weakness of his. Again, why I've focused on Devonta Smith as kind of the hot route, get clear receiver. If Jalen Hurts can stay composed, whether it's moving to extend plays or finding his hot routes, I think that's going to be crucial here because Spags is going to draw some stuff up for him that he's not seen before. I think that's the key one for the Eagles.
Joe, any thoughts on the other side? Key for the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it in the review. I think it's how that offensive line deals with this Eagles pass rush. They've obviously been having some issues with tackle, moving out the guard there. Be curious if they'll bring him back in just because how good Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith have been playing. And that's where they can cause them issues. When you think about the Eagles, when they won the Super Bowl, again, it was a high-scoring game. But they managed to get so much pressure on Tom Brady through the middle. That was where they won that game. And I think that's the where they can win this, to try and do what Tampa Bay did against Mahomes a few years back in the Super Bowl, because that was like the time where he didn't look like invincible. It was a bit of a disastrous game, and it was based just on that line, absolutely dominating that, the Chiefs line.
Brandon Graham made like one of the key plays to kind of, I guess Brady got the ball back, didn't he, again? But like strip Brady, didn't he, thinking at that point, and that probably what won him the game. Well, Brady got the ball back in the end, but yeah. And he's going to be back, another pass rush option for the Eagles. Yeah,
Even if he only plays 10 snaps.
Yeah.
You know,
just even the rest to help, one of the other guys get a breather, and I still think he'd be good. Like, if he wasn't ready, I don't think they'd put him in. Like,
I agree. Yeah, it's not a sentimental thing. This is an incredible rotational pass rusher who, like I say, even if it's only 10 snaps, he only needs one to hit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's such a match. Again, I've said it. I'll say it against the blue in the face. Tampa Bay Bucks is the blueprint to beat Mahomes in the playoffs here. Pressure up the middle, get the pressure in his face. You cut the escape routes, discipline rushing. That's how you're going to beat the Chiefs here. Just don't know whether the Eagles are going to be able to do it. I suppose for me, when I look at this game, and I'm sat on a Chiefs plus 550 ticket, and have been since the summer. So I feel like I've just been so reluctant to place it. I'm going to hedge and place a bet on the Eagles just to try and cover myself. But I look at the key matchups here, and I look on the sidelines, and I look at Andy Reid versus Vic Fangio, and Mahomes' and Reid's history against Vic Fangio. It's 8-0. He never lost to Vic Fangio anyway, a Vic Fangio defense.
It is, 8-0. You're right.
And including twice last year versus Miami. Once them in the playoffs. And I look at Spagnuolo versus Kellen Moore. And I love the Chiefs to win both of those battles. I think that's going to ultimately be the difference. That Reid's going to be able to obviously create a mismatch here and there, enough for the Chiefs to edge the battle on offense. And that Spags is going to find a way, even just a little bit, to slow down Barkley, to somehow stop a 4th and 1 tush push. They are just going to make 2 or 3 key plays, and that's going to be the difference. And I trust Spagnuolo and Reid more than I trust Fangio and Kellen Moore.
Totally.
Joe, we're all going to have a lot of facts and stats. Do you want to start us off?
The one you said, I was going to say that one, the Vic Fangio one. That's a really good one. So these two teams are incredible, especially the Chiefs when they get a lead, and it's whoever gets the lead to start with. So when the Eagles score first, so they scored first in the 7 straight games, and under Sirianni, they're 53-23 overall when they lead by 7+ points at any point, so 7%. While Mahomes, if KC are leading after the first quarter, they are 64-7 straight up, which is also includes 29-0 in the last 3 seasons, with the last time against the Bengals. So, if any of these teams get up by 7, like Eagles get up by 7, or the Chiefs is winning in end of the first quarter, it's finished. What's the point of watching anymore?
Because go home, pack it up and go home.
Yeah, exactly. Because usually the history that team wins. So yes, it's definitely getting off to a good start. And building on a lead is massive. Another one, an interesting one, the Eagles. So they scored 55 points in the conference championship, which was the most in that round in NFL history. So they are one of 3 teams who have scored 45 points in the conference championship. The other 2 teams went to lose the Super Bowl, and that included the 91 Bills and the 2015-16 Panthers. Who also lost the Super Bowl. So it's not a good omen to do all your scoring in the conference championship. But
run out of points. You just run out of points.
Exactly, yeah. And I'll just do 2 other quick ones while we're here. So Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni will be the 5th time head coaches rematching. The head coach who's won the first meeting also wins the second one. So again, it's not looking good for the Eagles. However, Patrick Mahomes, after he's taken down Josh Allen in the playoffs, is only 1-2. So you never know. He could go 2-2, or he could go 1-3. So could the Josh Allen be the Detroit Lions of the playoffs?
It's interesting that coach one. It was going to bring me on to so it's 5 coach rematches. There's 3 quarterback rematches that have happened before. So I guess this will be the 4th. Is this one the 3rd? No, this one might be the 3rd. I've lost the stat. Can you name any of the other 2? But anyway, same principle when the first quarterback that won the first matchup won the second matchup.
Brady Manning.
Brady and Eli. Eli likely going into the Hall of Fame this evening.
I was guessing Jim Kelly and Troy Aikman.
I think that's the other one, yes. I'm pretty sure that's the other one.
I think the early 90s will have been 2 Cowboys ones.
Yeah. Good work. Good sleuth work, gents.
You know what? When Joe said Manning Brady, I was like, Peyton Manning was in the AFC dipshit. Completely forgot Eli was a thing. Why is he going for Peyton Manning? Jesus.
Good stuff. Joe, have you got any more? Byron's got one more player he'd like to play a line he'd like to highlight, I think.
No, my other one's about the some players who we're going to chat about later on. So got some stuff there.
Save them, then. Save them. Mm-hmm. Byron.
Cool. So this is a player that I've highlighted previously in the playoffs to no success. So I do feel a little cautious why I'm leaving it off away from the main betting part of our card there. Stop me if you've heard it before, though. Noah Gray. This is from Fantasy Points, which is a great resource for deep analytics and great writing as well. Ryan Heath and I forgot the main guy's name. I'll remember it as we're talking. Do excellent work at Fantasy Points. Probably my favorite fantasy site. They don't, it's fantasy analysis and most of the point NFL analysis that lends itself to fantasy. So I'm just going to kind of read verbatim from their Super Bowl preview. In the regular season, the Eagles ran a combination of cover 4 and cover 6, league high 36.9%. That's rose to 42.3% in the playoffs. Essentially, it stops the play actions and in-breaking. Leaves you vulnerable to play action and in-breaking routes. Stops a deep ball, so slowing down Marquise Brown in theory, Xavier Worthy in theory. For the Chiefs, Noah Gray leads the Chiefs in yards per route run against cover 4 and cover 6. And on crossing routes, he leads the team as well at 3.3 yards per route run and 30% targets per route run on crossing routes. He didn't do much of it against the Bills because they were running much more at 12 personnel. But in the regular season, they threw out of 12 personnel the 4th highest rate in the regular season. So I expect that to swing back in the Super Bowl. And because it is Noah Gray, his prices are wild because it's Noah Gray. He's 30-1 to score the first touchdown of the game. He's 5-1 to score a touchdown any time, which I love. And why is my sheet not updated? Oh, here we go. His over-under is 15 receiving yards, which essentially is one catch on those crossing routes. So that appears at plus 116. You get a couple of catches, 40-plus receiving yards, plus 680, which, I mean, his average for the season is 23 yards per game. It's not wild to think he gets 2 big catches. And if you want to add an extra 10 yards on there, 50-plus receiving yards, and then we're pushing it at this point, but it's Super Bowl, don't leave anything on the field or in your bank account. Plus 1,200, or plus 1,250, actually, to get over 50 receiving yards. I think you're pushing it there, obviously, but it is an area that the Eagles, they have to leave somewhere not fully protected. And I think that, again, those crossing routes where Noah Gray excels and where the Eagles traditionally are leaving open, even more so in the playoffs, I think it just matches up well. Mahomes, for all his excellence, and something that should be widely applauded, is he's the king of giving what you give him, taking what you give him. You see some quarterbacks who we love, like Justin Herbert's one, who he'll try and take what's not there sometimes. And especially in younger quarterbacks, you see it an awful lot. And one of them, again, getting off on a bit of a tangent here, one of the things I love most about Jaden Daniels is his refusal to do it. He's so cool, he's so composed in the pocket. If you're going to give him 10 yards, but he might be able to hit 20, but he might get picked off, he'll take 10 and move down the field. Mahomes is the king of that. The Chiefs have been the king of that, especially this season. And it is kind of what kills Fangio defenses is methodically moving down the field. And again, the Chiefs and Mahomes this year have been kings of it. So I think Noah Gray, I haven't even looked at what his MVP odds are. I'm not that deep into the well, but I think these prices, again, 15 plus receiving yards at plus money, I think it's just asking to be taken, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know what? That is one of the best bits of analysis. I know it's helped get some of it from another source. One of the best bits of analysis done on this show the whole year. Tell you what, we do X's and O's here as well. We don't just do gambling. We do X's and O's here at Good Teams with Great Teams cover. Great bit of analysis there, Byron.
Yes.
Can I just one warning though? As much as you said, time to empty your bank account. Everybody, please gamble responsibly.
Absolutely, that is tongue in cheek. Do not.
Even with the Super Bowl, do not empty your bank account. Everybody, please, please, please do gamble responsibly. I've got a couple of bits I've held back. Just, I suppose, a bit of lay of the land. Where are we? Kind of, we're recording this on Thursday to go out Friday. 68% of the bets and 79% of the money is on the Eagles plus 1.5. If I'm a Philly fan, and I see that worries me. That all the money's on us. Almost 80% of the money's on us. Yeah. That would worry me if I was an Eagles fan. I like being sat on the Chiefs at the minute. This side of it.
Probably not the smartest.
Yeah, 77% of the bets and the money is on the over. So far, so over the 48.5. So that's kind of where we are so far. That will likely fluctuate between now and Sunday, of course. This is the 11th meeting between the Chiefs and the Eagles all time. Chiefs have won 4 of the last 5 straight up and a 4-1 ATS. Some interesting numbers on both teams in terms of where they're sat as slight favourites and slight underdogs. So in the last 20 games in the regular or postseason, where the Chiefs are a favourite of 3 points or fewer, they're 15-5 straight up and 14-5-1 ATS. In these close games where they're a favourite, they get the job done. 75% of the time. Is that right? 85% of the time? Yeah, 75% of the time they win the game. Just less than that, they cover. In the postseason, in that scenario where they're a favourite of 3 points or less, they're 5-1 straight up and 5-1 ATS in the playoffs. Anyone want to guess what the only defeat was?
What was it, sorry?
The only time they've lost as a favourite of 3 or fewer points in the postseason.
Buccaneers?
Yeah, Tampa Bay in the playoffs. They were just slight favourites against the Bucs. Yeah.
I didn't realise they were favoured in that game. I just seem to recall that Chiefs O-line was in such disarray. In my head, the Bucs must have been favourites, but it is Mahomes, and Mahomes was unbeatable. So yeah, it makes sense. 2.5 point favourites, I think, in that Super Bowl against the Bucs. And then the flip side of things, the Eagles are a slight underdog. So the Eagles, I say slight. Eagles is an underdog of 3 points or less in the playoffs historically. 6-0 straight up, 6-0 ATS. That is dating all the way back to 1993. Impressive.
Stat hunting this week for that. So yeah, such a tight game. I still think the Chiefs are going to come out on top. I think it's going to be a real close one. Any more to add before we start moving on to some of the other prop stuff, some of the fantasy stuff, some of the daft stuff around betting for the Super Bowl?
I have something daft, but it doesn't involve betting. I bet you thought we wouldn't have a number one song trivia for today, but I've dragged something up.
Byron, hit us.
All right. So, famously, the Chiefs, like fantasy football today, are going for a three-peat. The last major US sport three-peat was?
The
Michael Jordan, NBA?
No, there's one after that.
Ooh.
Right sport.
It was not the Lakers, no?
It was the Lakers, yeah. 2000, 2002. The final game of that series was June 12th, 2002. What was the UK number one?
2002 in the summer. I'm going to go back to I'm going to go Shawnee Paul, like glue.
It was not, no. It's good to get a summer one. We don't get many summer ones with the NFL season.
With it being summer, June 2002, is it a football song? Is it?
I wish it was. No.
Oh,
it's not you, my God.
And Deck on the ball.
And Deck on the ball.
Absolute banger, but no.
Oh, that's where I was going. Yeah, then sorry, no, I've nothing.
Will Young, Light My Fire.
Oh, there you go.
Doors cover. Yeah, I'm surprised. It doesn't feel like a summer song, but it was number one.
Excellent. Good stuff. Cheers for digging that up, Byron. And the season. Got to end the season with one of them, for sure. Good stuff. Right, yo. What have we got up next, Joe? It's the fourfold challenge.
The threefold.
The threefold, yeah. So we have to amend it for the Super Bowl. So it's a threefold challenge. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, we still have to brand it as the 4-4, I think. But yeah. So yeah, we're gonna do. You have to take one of your picks. Has to be a side or total. So there's 4 of them, obviously. Eagles, Chiefs, over or under. So you've got to take one of those. You then have to take touchdown scorer, Joe, and then prop, and then a prop on.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, excellent. Good stuff. Joe, are you able to do the business in the background? Because I'm sharing. Yeah, excellent. Good stuff. Okay, I will take, what do I want to take? I'm going to get the side because, otherwise I'll get the first pick of the sides and totals. Don't I? Give me the Chiefs -1.5. Chiefs -1.5. I'm going to take that. I don't think you two wanted it anyway, so I guess I could have left it. But yeah.
Definitely could have. We both took the Eagles.
Yeah. But we just stole a few picks. So yeah, I'm just gonna say Chiefs -1.5, and I'm done. Don't need to worry about total or anything. So yeah,
I'm gonna go with my first round pick from the last draft we done. Saquon Barkley, anytime touchdown. Served me well last time. He's only -190, not minus like 390 as it was last time. But and also Joe already has the graphic ready, so
yeah. I think
surprised it wasn't Noah Gray, to be honest. I was just looking for his picture, but
it might be a prop.
55 to 1, 3-fold or whatever, or treble. Yeah, been bigger odds than your 4-fold at 7.5 to 1 or whatever it was. Plus 750. Congratulations, by the way, Byron. You were on the show when we went through that last time, so well done.
Yeah, I did watch it back though, and there was a lot of talk of it, asterisks, etc. It's like it's not my fault what the odds were. I had the last pick in the first round. Anybody could have took Barkley.
It's true. That is true. Good spot to mention as well while Joe's doing up his graphic. The Hot Wings Hot Ones Challenge, Byron, that you're going to be taking on live Saturday night before the Super Bowl, 10 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. Eastern. For some reason I thought it was 4 p.m. Eastern. It's 4 p.m. your time, isn't it? 4 p.m. Central time. But 5 p.m. Eastern. What a way to go into Super Bowl Sunday, watching you.
Yeah, the closer it gets, the more nervy I am getting, I must say. Gonna have to make sure we have milk on hand.
Yeah.
Maybe some Greek yogurt on hand.
Nice. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And that's what I'm going to that episode and those clips, what I'm going to submit to the Sports Podcast Award for 2026 for our entry. So, better make it a good one.
I'll do my best.
Be live on our Twitter page and YouTube, so make sure you watch live or afterwards, whatever. It's going to be amazing. Joe, your pick to kick off your treble.
Yeah, I'm going to go the over. We've talked about it. I just think there's going to be lots of points. And my anytime touchdown scorer, I'm going for Jalen Hurts, just because I've got him to score touchdown in a bet, and I think he's guaranteed to at least. Be at least having a chance when he gets down to the goal line.
He's going to get at least one attempt at a touch push from the goal line. So, yeah, you'd have thought. Roughly shove, whatever. Byron, back to you. You need to be on, you need a prop or a side or total.
So, I was just looking through the receiving over-unders, and Noah Gray was actually, the plus 15 isn't actually his over-under, so that's at plus 116. His over-under is 11.5. So give me Noah Gray over 11.5 receiving yards.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, I need to finish mine off, don't I? And it would have been helpful if I was prepared, wasn't it? I will take... Gimme. Let's go double tight end. Give me Travis Kelce touchdown. And give me Dallas Goedert over 4.5 receptions.
While Joe's drawing that up, Dallas Goedert is another player I like in a lot of markets. Plus 290 anytime touchdown. 20 to 1 first touchdown scorer.
20 to 1?
Yeah, I can't believe that line. Again, he's been featured heavily through the playoffs for the Eagles. He's fully fit. I like it a lot, yeah. And 4.5 receptions, I think, certainly not a gimme, but I think that's well doable.
Yeah.
And that means it's me. Sorry. I just realized I was waiting for Joe to get them ready, and I'm like, well, it's actually me to pick. Eagles plus 1.5, please. kind of pleased Joe took the over. I think it will be an over, but I like the Eagles a little more.
Fair. Feels dirty, doesn't it, Byron saying it? I know we've got to be.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get into that with Phil in the final part of the show from British and Irish Eagles. But yeah, we do a good job, I think, of being relatively neutral and not sharing any biases, I think, on the show. We're very nice about the Eagles, which, I think is big of us. Joe, you've got. I'll just quickly sum up before Joe finishes off. So I'm on the Eagles no, I'm not. Chiefs -1.5. Travis Kelce anytime touchdown scorer, and Dallas got it over 4.5 receptions. Byron is on a Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown. Over 11.5. Noah Gray. Yeah, receiving yards and Eagles +1.5. Joe, you need to finish yours off. You've got over in the game, over 40.5, a Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. And
so you know what? I'm going to Byron's help me out here. Sorry, I was just trying to get everything up and trying to figure out. I'm going to go along with one of Byron's bets, and he's convinced me. It's not Noah Gray over 3 touchdowns. It's I'm going to go Devontae Smith over 52.5 yards, receiving yards.
Devonta Smith, over on the yards. I'm just pricing it up now, Joe. Wow, I've got yours in the calculator. Devonta Smith. Over. Cool. So I think, Joe, yours is +425.
Okay. It seems weird that when you said that, I was like 425. Obviously, it's only a free-fold this time.
It's only a treble, yeah. So you're +425. They're all going to be similar, really.
Mm-hmm.
So Byron's got Saquon. Noah Gray's going to be a pain in the ass. Also, nobody's going to know who that picture is of, by the way, Joe. Just a picture of Noah Gray.
He's the next Super Bowl MVP. They'll know by the end of it.
They will know.
Yeah.
400-1 Noah Gray MVP.
Oh, I've got over 12.5 yards here, Byron, but we'll let you have over 11.5 yards. I'm a different site, obviously, and then you've got the Eagles +1.5. I feel like we've practiced a lot better. So yours is +400, Byron. Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm on Chiefs, Trav Kelce, and Dallas got it. Over 4.5 receptions. Great podcasting, this. Me just trying to put all this into the calculator. Over 4.5 receptions. Mine's +500.
Oh, so great. Mine's a short odds. So when I win again, I'm going to get a little asterisk, right? Is that the...
Yeah. Big time. Yeah. Big time.
This is Southpaw's going to explain this 2-12-1 record.
Yeah, been a disaster for me. So, Byron, you've had the best of the fourfold for the playoffs. You're 8-3-1. Shame you didn't find this form in the regular season. Then you won't be eating red hot chicken wings. Joe, you're 7-5, and I'm on 2-9-1. So, Joe, you could potentially catch Byron, I guess, before for the end of the season to end that. That was fun. Good stuff. Final fourfold/threefold of the season. I love that. It's probably my favorite part of the show. Excellent stuff. I need to get back into the deck, don't I? Cool. Good stuff. Suppose, last but not least, we've got a couple of bits to go, haven't we, actually? We've got some props to talk about. This is going to be the longest episode of the season, by the way. Super Bowl 59 prediction. So we played a game last year, and I think the year before when I got used to do it on the very early episodes of Good Teams and Great Teams to cover. Super Bowl 59 prediction. So we have got 11 props to pick from. So 10 and a tiebreaker, I guess, which is a terrible tiebreaker because there's no actual right answer. And we're going to go through them. So some of them we've already talked about as well. So we'll talk through. Heath made his selections earlier. So you'll hear ours now. Just the game, ATS. I'm on the Chiefs. Byron and Joe are on the Philadelphia Eagles. We're all on the over. All of us on the over. Points for the GTW, GTC lads. This is where things start to get a little bit different. MVP, who have you got, guys?
I went Jalen Hurts. I was so tempted to put Devonta Smith in there, but got to play the odds a little bit. If you think the Eagles are going to win, go with the quarterback is kind of the default.
Yeah, and I've gone Saquon. I think it's the game where he can go off, and he's the. I think if him and Hurts have a similar kind of game, I think they might lean Saquon just with all the noise around how Hurts has been, and that Saquon's got all the love, and I think he's like second favorite to win the Super Bowl MVP as well, which is one of the first times that's happened for a long time. And I'll give you a fact about Saquon while we're here. So his rushing line is 110.5. But if you look at it, so how hard is it to do 120 yards? It's not been done since 2003. I'll be surprised if anyone gets who got over 120 yards in 2003.
2003.
I can't even think what the Super Bowl was in 2003.
So is it the 2003 season, or 2003 was the year of the Super Bowl, so it was the 2002 season?
I'm just going to hit 2003, so I'm guessing it's in 2003, so it'll be the 22-23 season.
Kevin Falk?
So I've got here, it's Michael Pittman, 2003, which would have been, I would have been impressed if anyone got that. And, for who? Sorry. I believe it was the Bucks against the Raiders.
Oh, okay. 48-21. Gruden.
Yep. And the only time Terrell Davis did it was in 98, and that's when he won the MVP. So I can see if that happens again, if he gets over 120, gets 2 touchdowns, and, that he could be the favorite if the Eagles win. So I've gone Barkley.
Spags, though, not giving up a 100-yard rusher in the playoffs, though, has he? Ever?
Not yet.
Well, if it happens, then it just helps his case even more.
Yeah, plus 275 for Saquon as your MVP, plus 325 for Jalen Hurts, and I've just gone boring Patrick Mahomes. If the Chiefs win, it's going to be Mahomes, isn't it? Plus 110. Barely even money on Patrick Mahomes to be the Super Bowl MVP. First touchdown scorer. I think you've probably so Byron, you're on Saquon. Joe, you're on Jalen Hurts. I went a little bit different. I just went Xavier Worthy. Just thought I'd mix it up a little bit. I've got a funny feeling you might see him get a couple of rush plays in the Super Bowl. It feels like it's been a while since we've seen Xavier Worthy get any rush touches. Feel like in the Super Bowl, it's going to be a time to bust them out. So Pacheco struggling, Kareem Hunt. Do you imagine he needs to do something a little bit different against this Eagles front and running it, getting a worthy rush or two? So I think that heightens up a possibility more of a first touchdown. I think if you do, it might be the first drive as well. Just try and throw them, I suppose, off kilter a little bit.
Are you saying he's the new Tony? Is that where he's going to be?
Maybe.
Didn't he have some rushing yards against the Eagles?
Yeah.
In the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Plus 150 plus 900 Xavier Worthy, first touchdown scorer. I was reading anytime touchdown scorer. Hurts, plus 600. Barkley, plus 350. Heath went for Hurts as well. We're all on over 5.5 touchdowns because we're all on the over. So that makes sense. I've gone under 3.5 field goals, though. Guys, you've gone over.
Yeah, I was torn on that one, truthfully. I kind of regretted it once I put it in, but yeah, it feels like it might be a more aggressive game than the field goals lend itself to, but we never know.
Yeah.
One of them will hit. The field goals or the touchdowns will hit.
Yeah. So I feel like I couldn't go over for both. I feel like I had to flip them, which ones I was going for. 2-point attempt. I think there'll be an extra point missed, which I'm tempted to bet on. You can bet on for a field goal or extra point missed, which I think is like plus one. I think it's plus 190 or something, maybe. I'll have to double check the odds on that. And therefore, that meant lend into a bit of funky scoring and have to get a 2-point conversion at some point. So I think we'll see at least one attempted, whether it's successful or not. Don't know. Highest scoring quarter. So you've all, including Heath, have gone for the fourth quarter. I've lent for kind of coming out after half-time with a burst third quarter. I think it might be a little bit of a low-scoring first half and then it catching up in the second.
I can see it.
Yeah, it's just like, I think when he gets to these ones, you're just thinking, it's literally the next category. It's a coin toss. So,
yeah.
Speaking of which, you've all gone for tails.
That never fails, man.
That'll be like the 10th time that's said on this episode of the of this podcast. Weird thing I read earlier, and apologies, I can't cite my sources. It might be beneficial to lose the coin toss in the Super Bowl. Big percentage of teams that have lost it that have then won the Super Bowl. But tails has historically come up most in the Super Bowl. 30 out of 58 times tails has hit. Yeah. 52%, just over. Yeah. All right. So it's just, I was trying to find the number, just 27 teams have won the coin toss and the game.
Nice.
The anthem. This has been what I've been involved in so much this week. We're all on the over for the anthem. Why do you think it's 120.5 seconds, so just over 2 minutes, I guess. What's making you think the over is going to hit? It is John Batiste, I think is how we say it. New Orleans native, Grammy Award winning John Batiste last week as well. So, what's helping you lean the over?
Well, you had a really good note on it, to be fair. Note being a little bit of a pun there that was intentional. Of it being the first, he's a piano player, right?
Yeah, so he's a piano player, yes.
Or pianist, I think the term actually is. I don't know why I'm saying piano player.
Yes.
It's from the first note to the last note, not necessarily lyrics, words, right?
Depends on different bookmakers offer different things. So but the line is the same with all of them, which I found very odd. So
Find one that includes the notes.
Yeah, my expectation, because we've had controversy before with this around where does it end? At what, if someone's just elongating the brave at the end, is it when they start brave? So different bookies do different things. I've gone with Paddy Power to place this bet, and I've hammered the over because they're going from the first note, whether that's from an instrument or the voice, to the end. At some point, this guy's going to go nuts on his piano because, it's a Super Bowl. He's at home in New Orleans. He's not just going to just rattle through it. He's got the opportunity to do, and that's been kind of the trend of the anthem recently. There's been more grandioso elements to the anthem as well. So I feel if he kicks off with just an extended intro, we're quids in, which I think is a possibility, or a little interlude at some point to show off his wonderful pianist skills. Then got to be careful how you say that. I think over 120 and a half is looking good.
I do also have the slow down part that extends out for the flyover.
Yeah, it might do a comedy sketch where he's playing the wrong notes on purpose, and
Welcome and wise.
Yeah, but
I would feel in the Super Bowl.
Exactly. But I would feel over just with it. It was election year. The president's going to be there for the first time. I think they're going to do a big thing around that, and unfortunately, but it's going to be over the 2 minute mark.
I'm not playing the wrong notes. I'm playing all the right notes, just not necessarily in the right order. I've got a couple of anthem stats for you because, of course, I have. In the last kind of 17 years or so, which I think is when somebody started recording this in a bit more detail from a betting perspective, the over's 10-6-1 since Super Bowl 41. Billy Joel did the anthem for that one.
Another piano man.
Yes, excellent. It was under last year to break a streak of 3 consecutive overs. And my favourite stat of the week, in domes or indoor venues, the anthem is over. The over for the anthem is 7-3-1.
Wow.
It travels. It stays in, doesn't it? The sound. It's
Yeah,
an extra second.
That's an extra time going. So yeah, anthem overs indoors 7-3-1, and that's probably been the most insightful bit of work we've done on this episode. Match
Drew Noah Gray.
Noah Gray stuff, Byron. Opening kickoff touchback. I've just gone no because we'd you one. Would you a return? Especially, I think with the kickoff rules as well. Joe, you're on the touchback.
Yeah, I always think that it's going to be one, but I feel like a team's just not going to want to risk what happened. Was it the Saints when it was? Or was it the Bears like ran it back straight away? Yeah. So I don't think a team really wants to give that advantage straight away because, like I said, my stats, if the Eagles get it, it's game over. Gets that touchdown, it's finished getting 7 points up. So no, I just think they'll try and kick it out. Being indoor as well, you can kick it a little bit further. So I think it'll be a touchback.
Fair. And then Gatorade colour. What have we gone for? Byron, you're on purple.
Yeah, a lot of history with that one there. I believe that's been the last 2 Super Bowls have been purple. So, yeah, go with purple. Because why not?
Because why not? Nothing else to say.
I don't have anything strong here.
I've got nothing else to say on the Gatorade colour. Yeah, what have we got? So, yeah, purple plus 190. I've got green, but I also get yellow with my green, apparently.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So, plus 240. Joe... You get red or pink as well, Joe. You get pink with yours.
Nice.
Plus 750.
And as we've seen earlier, this podcast is sponsored by Blue Gatorade. So, not an official sponsor, but we are available. Gatorade, if you'd like to send me some free.
Yeah, we're just pretending to be sponsored by Gatorade.
Yeah, it's a lie.
No free ads. What's going on? That's twice.
Byron might need like a big bucket to pour over himself when he's doing the hot ones this weekend. So Cindy just comes in.
At his live show is going to be sponsored by milk. Big
Are we
milk.
going to do like the Got Milk adverts with the milk tash? And
I'm not sure if I'm going to be cognizant enough to do anything of that sense.
And Stanley.
It's a niche.
He can do Scouse, he can do Texas, he can do them all.
He can do it all, yeah. He's got all the accents. Good stuff. Gents, that's us, isn't it? Oh no, Fantasy Game Day. How could I forget?
Any more novelty bets as well? Did you want to shout out any more novelty?
Yes.
Have we done them all?
No, go for it. Novelty bets, this is the spot for it.
All right. There to be an octopus, so a touchdown and to get the same player get the 2-point conversion. So you can be Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, pick a chief, 14-1. That's a very nice price.
Yes.
In what will be a high scoring, you leave everything on the field game. Scorigami in the Super Bowl, 25-1.
Nice.
Again, kind of game where you might get a random extra 2-point conversion that skews things a little. And again, I shouted this out in our thing with Heath. I mentioned it in my podcast with the TH Fantasy guys earlier in the week as well. Xavier Worthy, fastest ball carrier in the game, plus 250. I just think is essentially asking him to break one play because I think he has the fastest 40 time in NFL history. He looks very fast when he plays on the field. Saquon Barkley is a favorite in the market. Jalen Hurts is third in the market. I think basically it's a 2-horse race between Worthy and Barkley. And yeah, I'll take Worthy at plus 250. Those are my novelty bets of the game.
Joe, have you got any to shout out? There's one I saw. It's always runny in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles to set a Super Bowl record with 281 or more rushing yards. 16-1. It's always running.
Not bad. If they get out to a lead, we mentioned it when we were talking with Heath, where they are a team that want to play in front and they will pound that ball if they get it.
Excellent. Good stuff. Right, yo. Fantasy Game Day, our actual partner, not the pretend one that we were talking about with Gatorade. Although hopefully Gatorade do come on board. That would be cool. Fantasy Game Day, the UK's best and fastest growing NFL daily fantasy proposition and platform. Different game for Super Bowl because we've only got one game, so it's more the ballers style game. So it's one captain, or super flex. But, some more options, I guess, what you can do. Limited budget, it's only 25k budget. You've got £3 games, £10 game to enter. If you've not played, and you know what, if you've somehow found us and you're not necessarily a massive NFL fan, I don't know what you're doing watching this weird betting show, but go download Fantasy Gameday and use promo code COVER. You'll get yourself a free entry once you've submitted a team for the first time. So you submit 2 for the Super Bowl, we'll get 1 free on us. And get involved. It's fun. Give you something else to cheer for while you're watching the game as well on Sunday night. Joe, you've gone for Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I've gone for the obvious one. It goes along with my MVP and all that kind of stuff. I think he's going to have a huge game. He's only 30 yards shy of Terrell Davis's record for most yards in a season and playoffs. So I think they're going to feed him the ball lots and lots. And I feel like Cook had a big game last week. I think he was running over like 7 yards per run. I think Barkley could do something similar. So yeah, I know it's the most expensive. Most people are going to have him. All makes sense. So I thought, why not just go for the obvious?
Yeah, Saquon at £8,200. Byron, you're following up your bet for the game with your fantasy game day pick.
Yeah, Devonta Smith, 4,400. Again, I'm fancy him as my long shot MVP. I've already blurbed a lot about why I think it's a really good matchup. And again, if you've not played fantasy game day before, it is PPR scoring, so every catch is a point. So if you get someone who's going to get a lot of targets, a lot of catches, it's even more valuable in this format than a standard one where you wouldn't get points per catch.
Yeah, I've gone for Dallas. It was an Eagles treble for us. I've gone for Dallas Goedert. I think he's gonna have a big game. I do
have a good fact about Goddard. Just I've been keeping this one. So if he gets 4 receptions in the Super Bowl, he will join a list of players with 4+ reception in 10 straight playoff games since the merger, which is like nuts when you think about it. And the other players are Kelsey, Edelman, Wes Walker, Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones, and Jerry Rice. So no bad company if he just gets them 4 receptions. So I
think he goes like under the radar, Goddard, don't he? How good he is.
Yeah.
Like he's a phenomenal player, phenomenal tight end. I'm 3,800 as well. And if he does get enough targets, like good option, really. I mean, you've got a limited budget, 25k, so you're only picking 5 players. But yeah, allows you to spend elsewhere. Get Saquon.
Yeah.
3,800. Yeah, go play Fantasy Game Day. Gamete & Co. got another wildly successful year for them. They're only going to go on to bigger and better things. It's a pleasure to be partners with them. Make sure you use promo code COVER. Get your entry in. You've got to be 18 plus to enter. UK only, of course. As we always say, please gamble responsibly. Right, we're going to hand over to our Eagles guest, Phil from British and Irish Eagles, to finish off the episode. Before we go, to one last thing from you guys. Score prediction. Go, Byron.
Eagles 31, Chiefs 27.
Joe?
I'm going to go Eagles 41, Chiefs 38.
Oh, what a game. What a game. I'm going to go Chiefs 27, Eagles 24. Chiefs walk it off. Chiefs walk it off to secure the 3-peat. Right, on to our Eagles guest to end the show. Thanks for sticking around. This is a bumper show because it is the Super Bowl. We're on with Phil from British and Irish Eagles. He's been a guest before. We're going to talk all things Eagles with Phil. And then the episode ends rather abruptly. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Follow Good Teams Win Great Teams cover over on Spotify. If you've not followed yet, you can give us the opportunity to give us a 5-star rating or not, whatever rating you want. You can give us on Spotify. Also, follow us on YouTube. Like and subscribe as well. That'd be great. The more people got subscribed, the better. GTW_GTC. The same on Twitter /X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky. I think that's everything. And you'll see all of our posts. Byron, we get a Charlie pick for the Super Bowl. Come on.
We are getting a Charlie pick for the Super Bowl, yes.
Yes.
I've already been asked about it, funnily enough. But and also, if you're not going to rate us 5 stars, don't rate us at all, please. Only 5-star rating. If you've got a comment or criticism, please just pass it to us and we'll work on our performance. Don't tell Spotify we're shit. Tell Spotify we're great and give us 5 stars. None of this 2-star nonsense.
Yeah.
3-star nonsense. Just tell us if you don't like us. Spotify don't need to know.
We'd appreciate it.
But yeah, Charlie will be back this weekend with a big pick. So
Yes.
whoever you are rooting for, you're gonna hope Charlie picks the opposite because he's not
Yeah.
been in good form since the Euros.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been out for good stuff. Well, great to see Charlie back. Good stuff. So yeah, here is me ending the episode with Phil from the British and Irish Eagles. Finishing off our Super Bowl 59 preview, we're joined by a Philadelphia Eagles guest. We've got returning guest Phil from British and Irish Eagles. We last saw Phil in our NFC East preview, which was way back in June. So it's been a while. Phil, welcome back to Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. First of all, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. And I was trying to rack my brains earlier because I knew I'd been on. I couldn't remember if it was this season or last season, but that kind of explains it. That it was in the preseason trying to predict the NFC. I'd love to go. Actually, must go back and listen to that podcast because I'd love to know what I said and see how much of it actually came true.
Yeah, it's and that was the first one we did as well because that's two of the three of us are Cowboys fans on the show. So naturally, it's always the first division we tend to tackle heading in. But yeah, a long time ago. Yeah, I think it was June 28th of June. Jesus Christ, it was a long time ago. Just looking at our list. So, and what a season it's been for the Philadelphia Eagles because you're here in our last preview episode of the season. Made it to Super Bowl 59. How are you kind of feeling? It's Thursday night when we're recording. How are you feeling kind of just being a couple of days away from the big game now?
Surprisingly good. And that's not even from an arrogant perspective. It's not necessarily because I'm thinking we're guaranteed to win or anything like that. There's a lot of reasons, which I'm sure we will get into in a minute. But generally, just I feel really good, really excited. The team's been absolutely phenomenal this season, and I think that's the foundation for it. Saquon Barkley is a big factor in that, but there are so many other players on the team that I can highlight for you. And the fact that the season's just gone, like since the bye week, it just felt like a dream. Like it just felt it was going to end at any moment, and it just didn't. It just kept going, and it's still going, and I can't wait for Sunday.
Feels like that bye week was so long ago as well. It was real early in the season. I think it was week 5, maybe. Did the Eagles have the bye week?
Week 5 bye. Yeah, it's a lot of people don't like early buys, and I don't think I was a big fan of it either at the start of the season. Turns out it was at the perfect time because it gave us a chance to really iron out some real early wrinkles and came back. The Browns game straight after the bye was all right. It wasn't amazing, but then the game after that, I think it was the Bengals that it just started taking off, start getting better and better.
And what is it with that? What do you think it was that kind of just clicked all of a sudden? Because it was a bit of a show. I think they were 2-2 after 4 heading into the bye. I think starting the season with a trip to Brazil. It's pretty unprecedented. Obviously, the Packers had the same thing, and then that early bye. Kind of what was it that just started to click then? Because they just started to roll. Was it Sirianni kicking off with the fan? Was that the Browns game?
I don't think it's that. Although there's loads of different factors you can bring into it. Sirianni is a very divisive character, even amongst Eagles fans. So you'll find some Eagles fans that will agree with you and some that will disagree with you. But for me, it's 100% Vic Fangio because his scheme, he's obviously the godfather of his own scheme. We've tried to hire his disciples, and it just hasn't worked out with Jonathan Gannon and so on, Desai. But his scheme takes a long time to get established. And he obviously only joined finally this off season, going into this season. I think it just took a while, and hence why the bye week ended up being at the perfect time because you've got a chance to analyze what's not going right. All of the defensive players have come on board. The rookies have been firing. The players that we'd signed, we drafted 2-3 years ago. Nakobe Dean was a big question mark going into the season, and he, unfortunately got injured. But for what he was, up until he did get put on IR, it was absolutely phenomenal. One of our best players on defense, and he was a steal in the 3rd round 2 years ago, but didn't play in the first season and barely sort of made a dent in his second. And this 3rd season was really where he really kicked off. You've got Zach Bourne, who's obviously Pro Bowl, All Pro. Chance of season MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, sorry. And I just think that you've got to come all the way back to Vic Fangio and when he was at Miami, because this is something that I sort of realized quite recently when a few more experienced podcasters than me were talking about his time in Miami and the fact that he didn't go so well. The Eagles were a bit like, are you sure you want this guy? None of the players in Miami had anything good to say about him. But when you really analyze the situation, they were really scraping the barrel through injuries and bringing people off the street. And when you combine that with the fact that his scheme just takes so long to embed and get right, you can't just sign someone off the street and expect it to work. So I think that's the reason why it didn't work in Miami and why it's working now, because it's just sort of clicking. It's his home city as well, and I think that everything's just coming together in that regard.
Yeah, I think it's been quite the turnaround kind of from where the Eagles were defensively 12 months ago. Oh, a lot more than 12 months ago, kind of. The back end of last season was just a mess. The linebackers were a mess. The secondary was getting shredded, and it ended up in that playoff hammering by the Buccaneers, didn't it, really? I think the one you shied out there, I think Zach Bourne, like we talk about, obviously Saquon is kind of probably the best free agent signing of the season. I think Zach Bourne's right there as well in terms of the impact that he's had and the level he's played at, and maybe he should get a defensive player of the year. He's been absolutely incredible. And who's maybe kind of been a bit under the radar, because we've shouted out the rookies. We've talked about the rookies all year long. Quinion Mitchell is a beast. Yeah. Cooper DeJean's come on as well. And we know about Jalen Carter. He's a big favourite of ours. Is anyone gone under the radar on that defense that's kind of been a big contributor?
That's the thing. They all have. Like, there's almost been, you struggle to find someone on the team who hasn't contributed, and when you do, it's usually someone who's come in for someone who's injured. So there's been, Isaiah Rodgers, you can say, hasn't had that impact, but he kind of did. He got a bit more snaps when Quinion Mitchell was out for a week, and he even sort of benefited from a bit more game time. So it's really hard to pinpoint anyone. But if I'm going to nail my colours to the mast for any regard, I'd maybe go Reed Blankenship. And I don't know if that counts as an outside bet, but alongside CJ Gardner-Johnson, those two absolutely locked down the safety position, and between the two of them working so well, and he's got something like 5 interceptions this season from the safety position, and he's just not someone that he's not the person you look on the team sheet and go, oh, thank God Reed Blankenship's playing like he's the star player. But when you do see him on the team sheet, you're like, I feel good about the defense. CJ, Reed, they've locked that down. Quinion Mitchell, Darius Slay, that area just, and with Cooper DeJean sort of fitting in quite nicely as well. Those whole 5 are just phenomenal. But I feel like Reed often doesn't get the mention because you've got your 2 rookies, you've got your vet, 5-star vet in Darius Slay, and CJ is just very outspoken, so he kind of gets the headlines whether you want to give them to him or not. So Reed sort of quietly goes about his business. His nickname's Ghost for a reason. He just sort of sneaks up around you and catches you unawares. So.
And just keeping with the defense, obviously, Fangio obviously is incredible season coordinator perspective. There is, and I'm sure you've heard it in the build-up, Mahomes not lost against a Vic Fangio defense yet, including beating the Dolphins twice last year. But as you quite rightly pointed out, that Dolphins defense was a shell of itself due to injury. Do things like that worry you heading into the game when there's kind of those things where Mahomes has kind of seen what Fangio's got to offer and what he can do, and has always so far found a way to be successful against it?
I mean, you can't ignore it completely. It's a pretty damning stat when you put it sort of, he has not yet beaten Patrick Mahomes. But the context for that, I guess, and the way to defend it or being less worried about it is to say that as the head coach of the Denver Broncos, it didn't work out. I don't necessarily think he's head coach material. He's a defensive mastermind, and I feel like quite often the best coordinators don't make good head coaches, and then when you're in the division with him, you're playing him twice a year. So I think at least half of those are going to be where the Denver Broncos were just bottom of the division kind of team, and when you're playing against Patrick Mahomes, it's almost just, it's a given. So take half of those away. Then, like you said, Miami pretty pish last season, and it's sort of, you kind of start to eke away. And I'm not trying to sort of say, oh, it doesn't matter, because it does, but I feel like this is one situation that's completely different from the rest, and how well the season's do, well the team's done this season just goes to credit that he's got them coached up so well. There's confidence among the players. He knows what he's doing. There's absolutely nothing. There's no fault on Fangio this season. We haven't had one game after the bye where we've kind of gone, oh, I wish he'd tighten up on this. He's adjusted brilliantly, and there's lots of reasons to be optimistic that this isn't going to be one of those situations. But again, it is Patrick Mahomes, and anything's possible. And I think overall, if you ask me about the game in general, that's ultimately what it boils down to: is like, can the Eagles get to Patrick Mahomes? Can we sack Patrick Mahomes? Can we cover every single receiver? Because no matter what you do, he always seems to get the ball out, and Travis Kelce is just a huge problem. How do you can't just deal with them, because they'll find another way to beat you. So,
and I suppose that leads into sort of my next question. We'll start talking about the game in more detail. If there's key battles everywhere on the field here, both sides of the ball, and special teams is going to be a huge factor, I think, as well in this one. What would you say is the absolute number one battle or matchup that the Eagles have to get the better of to beat the Chiefs on Sunday?
I think it's a toss-up between, like I said, getting to Mahomes and taking away his safety nets with Travis Kelce and the deep ball. I think it's just obvious you have to go for the Mahomes situation, whether it's directly getting to him or taking away his options. But I feel like the big key factor in 2022 where we lost, and people say that Eagles fans are just making excuses for the pitch being so wet, but it was visibly clear that players on the edge were struggling to get around. It was same for the Chiefs. It's just the fact that when you're dealing with a quarterback of Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes, it matters more when you don't get to Patrick Mahomes, because he will scramble, he will evade you. Hassan Reddick's ended up on the turf more times than I care to count. This time it's inside, it's in a dome, it's turf. So the key for me will be sort of Nolan Smith, Sweaty, and maybe even BG getting around the edge if he manages to make a snap. I think it's getting to Patrick Mahomes, getting 2 or 3 sacks minimum to say like he's going to have to be thinking about that all game, because I think that was one of the biggest things in 2022 is that once he realised that players were really struggling to get to him, it probably gives him a little bit extra boost to say like I've got a bit more time than I thought, and also they're going to, I just have to take a sidestep and Hassan Reddick's going to go slip slide and pass me. So
yeah, I think that is the key one. You mentioned Brandon Graham there. Huge comeback. The noises are suggesting he's gonna have some involvement and he's gonna play, and that's another. You talk about that pass rush being so important, whether that's interior or on the edge. Another option as someone as good and experienced as Brandon Graham certainly doesn't hurt in that situation. Opportunity to get more fresh bodies in there as well. I think it would be a huge game for Jalen Carter. I think the Bucs, when they beat the Chiefs back in 2020 season, the COVID one when there was hardly anybody there at the Super Bowl, the Bucs beat them. It was interior pressure down the middle, and that's what kind of got Mahomes. He had no escape. The rush was disciplined. It didn't give him the little pockets or lanes for him to get out. And I think a huge part of that, getting that interior push and pressure for the Eagles, is going to be Jalen Carter. I think that's the key, and it's going to be a fascinating watch. Where's the bit where you're most, again, it's the Chiefs, so it could be, obviously, where are you most concerned here, where there's a potential? I don't think there is a weakness in the Eagles. I think the Eagles are probably the most complete team in the NFL. It really hurts me to say all this as a Cowboys fan, by the way. But the Eagles are, I think, the most complete team in the NFL. Are probably the best team overall. But where do you think that there's a potential, not weakness or weak spot, that the Chiefs might be able to exploit?
You're right, and the pause is backing that up. It's hard to sort of pinpoint, and obviously I don't really want to think about for Sunday. I don't want to be thinking about any weak spots, because you're going to get me worrying about it now. But in general, I feel like it is the middle of the field with Travis Kelce on offense for the Chiefs. It's a case of, we suffered against Zach Ertz in the championship game. He got over 100 yards and 11 catches, and that hurt, especially because it's Zach Ertz. But we are a little bit susceptible to that over the middle. The Fangio defense is bend, don't break, and that is okay most of the time until you come up against a team like the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, who that is their bread and butter. They are the best team in the league at dinking and dunking and just chipping away, because they've got the confidence, they've got the ability, and they'll just do that. And if they need to, they might throw it deep. So I feel like that's going to be the area. And I think Cooper DeJean is the guy that has been slated to be trying to attempt to corral Travis Kelce. And bear in mind, he's obviously a rookie and been 17 games under his belt. It's sort of, is he going to do a good job? I have confidence in him, but it's Travis Kelce, and I feel like it's going to be a mismatch no matter who you put there. So that's going to be the main area of concern, I think, is how quickly Travis Kelce gets brought into the game. If we can keep him out for a decent amount of time, it might give us a chance.
Yeah, it's interesting how teams have approached Kelce in the playoffs, trying to take maybe a slot corner or a safety or someone to just kind of go man on Kelce. And it's had mixed results. And the Bills did quite a good job in the AFC Championship a couple of weeks ago of being able to kind of limit his influence. The Texans the week before tried to go at him with Stingley, and that just didn't really work. And then he just picked apart the zones. And I think it's the year before, Kyle Hamilton for the Ravens went at him in the championship game. And I think he was like 11 for 11 for 120 odd yards. And so it's been mixed results. And it is an interesting strategy about how do you just limit Kelce and make them beat you another way, which is really interesting. We've talked a lot about the Eagles' defense. We should rightly talk about the Eagles' offense. And it's been phenomenal. And just a pretty straightforward question. How great is it to have Saquon Barkley on your team?
I'll tell you what, it's been absolutely like an absolute dream. And I don't think I was one of the people going, yeah, let's sign him. That it'll be exciting. It'll be fun. Because he'll elevate the team. But will he elevate the team to this kind of level? No one really expected it to be this good. People look at the Giants and go, imagine what Saquon Barkley would be like behind a decent offensive line, and especially considering the Eagles have one of the best offensive lines. It kind of made sense that this would happen, but I guess you just don't want to get over your skis and be like, well, it's guaranteed he's going to get over 2,000 yards. But there was that quiet confidence, and just the amount of touchdowns over 60 yards that he's got this season has been incredible. I think that's been the biggest standout factor for me, is that there's been so many games where we've just ripped off a touchdown off the first, second snap of the drive, and it just kills the other team. Specifically 2 weeks ago against the Commanders, that they worked so hard, 16 plays I think it was, for their 3 points on their first drive of the game, and within literally 60 seconds of them putting the ball through the posts, they're back on the field trying to score because they're now down by 4. And it just absolutely demoralizes teams. And you look at the Rams game in week 12 specifically, I know he did it again in the divisional round, but 250 yards on the ground, 300 yards from scrimmage in one game. It's like, you run it. Every podcast we did, we just ran out of words, ran out of ways to describe, because it just felt like we were just repeating ourselves. It got boring to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, it's been phenomenal to watch, and Saquon for us Cowboys fans on our show. He's been obviously been in the division the whole time. I'm quite happy for him. He had a rough time, but I think he's real underappreciated in New York with the Giants, and the fact that we're just haggling over, at this point, it's a tiny amount of money to try and get him back. And sadly, it is with the Eagles, but it's been so good to just sort of see how phenomenal he's been behind that line. And those 5 guys as well deserve, as much of that record is credit for his season as Saquon, because that line's been incredible. Lane Johnson robbed of first team All-Pro because he's been by far and away the best right tackle in the league. And I think that's key, and that's possibly the other key matchup then. How do you sort of feel those 5 guys on the O-line are going to cope with that Chiefs defensive line, which is obviously such a huge strength of theirs, in particular, the game record that can be Chris Jones?
Well, I feel like we've got everything we need to possibly do the best job that we can to nullify that Chris Jones and that Chiefs defense. I feel like we've come up against a couple of decent defenses in the same regard, but the threat of the only time it's really kind of come against us was the Commanders game in towards the end of the season. You don't have Jalen Hurts, and that's a big factor in the game as well, because you lose that threat of him keeping the ball and running for it, Saquon Barkley, and then obviously the throwing option. The offensive line can deal with it quite well, but when you take away one of the strings to the bow, you obviously limit the team. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough, but it's like, I don't know what more we could ask for to be able to deal with it. apart, we've got the best possible offensive line. We've got the best coaching that we've had in a long while. So if we can't do it against the Chiefs, then there's not really anything more you can be found wanting, I think, in that regard.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those keys about how those guys match up. But I don't think they're a better collective five to go against that Chiefs D line than the Eagles O line. It feels so bad just being so nice about the Eagles. Nick Sirianni, you mentioned it before. I meant to ask, sorry. Nick Sirianni as well. I want just a quick one on him, because what is it about him that does make him so divisive for the Eagles? Because he seems to have just done nothing but win. I think he's the active coach with the best regular season winning percentage. I think he's over 70%. He's in one of the top 5 of current active coaches in playoff percentage win. It's the second Super Bowl in 3 years. As I said, they've done nothing but win. What is it about him that, for the Eagles fans, makes him so, I don't know, that kind of Marmite character?
It has a lot to do with how last season ended, and the chopping and changing at defensive coordinator. Desai was out, Patricia was in, then no one was in, no one was out. Sirianni was calling plays. It just wasn't. It just didn't smack of anyone who had a particular stronghold of his team, and it didn't really match up with the fact that all the players are just so effusive about him. They love him. They'll do anything for him, and it didn't make sense. And then the picture that was coming out was that he was just a glorified cheerleader. He's there because he's good at managing people, but he can't coach a team on the field, and he was hindering the team. The team were winning in spite of him. All this sort of debate all off season and into this season, and not until sort of maybe week 12 were people starting to go, all right, well, maybe we should stop hating on him so much, or stop trying to criticize him so much, and whatever it is, it's working. And the more players are coming out saying that they'd do anything for him, and I think you're just seeing little bits here or there, more and more, that he's just. Last season, I think he got, like I said, he got drawn into the play calling, and I think that was the biggest problem. He isn't a good play caller. He's not. They're one of those masterminds in the middle of a game that's going to sort of draw up something or know exactly the right play to go to. And I feel like there was distractions there, because in 2022 it was very much the same. You had Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon just kind of running things, and I think that's probably what he was doing. He was just managing the team, doing much of what he did this season, which is allowing the guys, Desai Fangio and Kellen Moore to run their respective areas of the team, and then he was just making sure everything else was clicking, everything was where everything needed to be, and people had what they needed, and emotionally, physically, and that's just where it's come from. And it then seems like it's no surprise that we're having a very similar season to what we had in 2022. The difference being this year is that the defense has been number one in the league, and that's elevated. So now I think that's where a lot of the confidence comes for Sunday, is that compared to where we were in 2022, we're like that but better.
Yeah. I think they're in better shape heading into this one than they were in 57, and they were in pretty good shape heading into 57. They were favourites last time heading into the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, underdogs this time. Quick word on Kellen Moore. I think by the time it gets to Monday or Tuesday, we're likely going to hear he's going to be the New Orleans Saints head coach. He's been there 2 years now as offensive coordinator. Obviously, Cowboys, Chargers, and then to Philly. How good of a job has he done, kind of as offensive coordinator, just getting that identity with the run game?
So, little nugget from sources within the Eagles. I think his style of offense is quite complicated, and I think that's where the early struggles came from. He likes to be very creative, and I think he's got a reputation for being very good, but it's sometimes kind of overwhelming. I think Jalen Hurts struggled with the complexity at the start, and I think over the bye week that was another adjustment, was simplifying it a little bit, maybe having Sirianni had a little bit more influence and sort of trying to be the bridge between the quarterback and the offensive coordinator, trying to find the compromise that worked for both. I'm not going to be sad if he goes, because I feel like it didn't start great. It's not been amazing. I think when you've got Saquon, the offense that we've got, again, it's the Sirianni criticism, which was, are we winning in spite of Kellen Moore? Which could be a point, but he's going. So I guess we're just looking and going, I don't really feel that bothered. There's the questions about who's going to replace him, which is Petula, on the offensive side of the ball. He's rumored to be coming in, which hasn't had great reception. I think that people would love to have someone like Steichen back or Frank Reich even. There's been jokes about sort of if the Colts do terrible this next season, maybe Steichen will get fired and can come back to the Eagles, and then we'd probably be absolutely unstoppable. But yeah, it's been good. He's been all right. He's definitely improved. He brought motion into the team. He's made the offense look a little bit better. But there have been clunky points, and there's been a lot of games this season we've won because the defense has kept the game tight and allowed the offense to sort whatever the problems were out and eventually get a couple of touchdowns to sort of see out the game. Whereas 2023, we would have lost those games. We lost, the Seahawks game, for example. It's just we kind of eliminated those niggly little close games and managed to get out of sight. And Saquon Barkley is a big factor in that as well. He's going to rip you off a 70-yard touchdown. It kind of gives you a lot of breathing space. So
yeah, the ultimate closer, Saquon Barkley for sure.
Yeah, basically.
Good stuff. Like I say, it's obviously a huge game, rematch from obviously a couple of years ago. I have seen, if I'm right in saying, Irish Eagles got an event going on down, is it Passyunk? I can never say the name of that place. Is it Passyunk, UK? Is that the right?
It's Passyunk. So Passyunk. It's it's not Passyunk, it's Passyunk. So
Got it.
It's a family from Philadelphia that's brought the Philadelphian style over to the UK. They've got about 3 franchises in London. So we're all heading down to the one under Waterloo Station, Leek Street Arches. They've got a tailgate going on outside, which is completely open. So anybody who's listening to this who is undecided, lives in London, wants to come in, tailgate's absolutely free to attend. There'll be a bar and games and tailgating games and prizes outside, but inside there will obviously be the game as well. And we've got a bar, we've got the Nick Foles bar hired out, got about 60 members coming down to watch it with us. It's going to be absolutely rammed, but it's going to be incredible, especially if the Eagles win. So
of course, yeah, excellent. Yeah, under Waterloo Station, Passyunk, they're going to have learned something new as well. I've seen them, I follow those guys on social media, so should know how to say the bar name. I'd say I'd get down, but I definitely wouldn't be welcome as a Dallas Cowboys fan. But maybe in the regular season, when I'm in London, I will head down to watch one of the Sunday games there. Before you finish up with us, Phil, you're going to take part in our Super Bowl props challenge. So you've heard in the previous part of our show, myself, Byron, Joe, and also our guest, Heath Cummings from Fantasy Football Today at CBS Sports, give their picks. Phil, you're going to be the last person this season to give us any form of picks on the show. So I hope you're happy with that honour. I feel like the first one in this, I already know the answer to. It's the total. So, it's the side. So, Eagles are 1.5 point underdogs. Would I be right in saying you're going to be going with the Eagles plus 1.5?
Yeah, absolutely. No question.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is fair. It's such a close game. I think the other time the Eagles were 2.5 point favourites, so it's kind of in the same area. And the total for this one is 48.5. Are you seeing a bit high scoring game like it was last time, or do you think the total hits under?
I think it's going to be over. And I've gone basically on the prediction that I gave in our podcast, which was about 27-35 to the Eagles. So we're talking sort of 50 odd points there. Yeah,
that would be a high scoring game. Actually, I kind of agree with you. I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be close, but I can see it being high scoring again, just because you've got the explosiveness of the Eagles offense, and the Chiefs just can kind of adapt. Like, if it ends up being a shootout game, they'll just turn that way, and yeah, it'll be close. And I like lots of points as well. I'm with you. Who do you think is going to be the Super Bowl 59 MVP?
I think it's the one to go for is Saquon Barkley. I feel like it's, Hurts has been really good, but if Saquon Barkley, if we win, it's going to be down to Saquon Barkley having a monster game, over 150 yards and a couple of touchdowns. It's going to be him. But if you want an outside bet, I think you might go for Jalen Carr or Zach Bourne on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to get good odds, and Zach Bourne being the All-Pro and a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, he could be a reason why we get to Mahomes and stuff them out of the game.
Yeah, I like a shout for a defensive player as well. I think Von Miller in Super Bowl 50 was the last one. So it's been such a long time since there's been a defensive player as MVP. So yeah, I kind of like that shout of either side. Chris Jones, Kyle Loftus, Jalen Carter, Zach Barr. It could be, whoever makes potentially game sealing interception. We've seen those before. So yeah, I like a defensive player shout as well. Who are you going for your first touchdown scorer in the game, Phil?
I'm going to go for Jalen Hurts because it seems like a bit of a guarantee sometimes, especially if we manage to get down to the 1 yard line.
Anything inside 2 yards is just pushing the brotherly shove, get
Just
him
push
pushed
him.
over the line. What did you make of the Commanders' attempts to many attempts to try and stop that? The other team?
At the point in the game where we were quite comfortably ahead, I found it just absolutely hilarious. There's been memes and everything. It was funny, and I think the fact that the refs were threatening to award a touchdown just was the icing on the cake in that little segment.
Yeah, first time, I'm sure for many of us, first time that we've ever heard that. I've seen that play out on the field before. So, yeah, it was great stuff. But, yeah, shout out Frankie Louvu for trying to do something at least to stop the tush push or brotherly shove. Total number of touchdowns in the game. So, the line is 5.5. Do you think there'll be over or under 5.5 touchdowns?
Yeah, over. I think there's going to be at least 3 aside. So, go for 6+.
6+, like it obviously fits into the high scoring game. Going with the over. For the field goals, we've got over under 3.5.
Just for interest, I'm going to go under, and that's purely because our confidence in Jake Elliott isn't quite there, and there's going to be a tendency to be aggressive more. So from our side of the ball specifically, you might find there's not that many field goal attempts, and I guess I just can't speak for the Chiefs, but for the interest of this prop bet, I'll go under.
Yeah, and is that a big worry because of Jake Elliott? Normally, or he previously has been so reliable. It's just had a rough kind of year. When potentially a game's going to be as close as we're all expecting it to be, we're all expecting. I don't think I've heard anybody say it's not going to be a one-score game. How worried? Again, not to put you in that bad spot before you go for Sunday, but how worrying is it that kind of you've got Elliott that's having a bit of a rough time?
Yeah, definitely. It's not been great, and he's cost us. He hasn't cost us. That's the fortunate thing about it, is that despite that, we managed to win. But it is a concern, especially in a game that's really important and can be settled on a field goal. You want to have confidence in the theory, the hypothetical of us needing to kick a 50-yard field goal for Super Bowl win. It would be my absolute worst. The worst case scenario for trying to win it. I don't think I could handle it. I wouldn't watch.
Yeah.
I'd have to run outside.
Just wait for the cheer from inside the bar, hopefully. Yeah. Good stuff. And do you think there'll be a successful 2-point conversion during the game?
Yeah, I'm going to go with just because when it gets down to the crunch, if you're behind by more than 7 points, you're going to be going for it. I think there's going to be at least one attempt.
Yeah. I mean, potentially more likely to see missed extra points now than we are before. So, yeah, potentially that all factors into at least an attempt or two. Which quarter do you think is going to be the highest scoring one?
Feels like it's a bit of a potluck on this, but I'm going to go for the second quarter because I feel like the Eagles are potentially going to be not getting the ball in the second half. They'll probably be receiving it in the first half. So I think the second quarter will be where we kind of try and get as much on the scoreboard as we can before halftime. So I'm going to go with the second quarter.
Yeah, that was a big theme, wasn't it? I think it's kind of gone away now, but such a big chunk of the season where the Eagles just didn't score any points in the first quarter, just like for months of the season. But that's certainly gone away. Definitely in the playoffs anyway, for sure. And we've seen that disappear. This is when we start getting into some of the daft ones, the daft props. Coin toss, heads or tails?
Tails never fails.
Everybody says that. Everybody's going for it. Good stuff. I'm out on an island on heads on my own. I don't know if I should be worried. And this is probably the prop I've done the most research on this week. I've been watching previous renditions of this guy doing the national anthem. Over under 120.5 seconds. Grammy Award winning John Batiste from New Orleans going to be doing the anthem on his piano. Over under 120.5.
Having done absolutely zero research, I'm just going to go on the fact that it's the biggest stage for a singer to sing the national anthem. It's probably going to be over. They're going to eke it out and grasp every second of it.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a hometown guy. Just won a Grammy last week. I think he's going to be going wild on that piano, dragging it out. And then, last but not least, before we go for our tiebreaker, opening kickoff touchback. Yay or nay?
Yeah, I think that just tends to be. without doing research, it feels like nearly every Super Bowl opening kickoff will go for a touchback because no one wants to fumble a kickoff or lose the ball or make a mistake at the very start of the game. So I think in the interest of safety, unless they kick it into the landing or the return zone, as it's called, it'll be a touchback.
Excellent. And then just in case we do need a tiebreaker, the Gatorade colour that's going to get poured on the winning coach. Lane Johnson might have given this away as well for the Eagles this week. I heard an interview this week where he kind of gave away what they drink on the sideline. So I don't know if that'll play for in the Super Bowl, but which colour do you think we're going to see, hopefully for you, poured on Nick Sirianni?
It's got to be green, surely. Yellow or green, but I'm going to go green in the interest of it being Eagles. Yeah,
I think if you go green, you get yellow as well covered in there with the betting companies. So Lane Johnson, I can't remember what pod it was on, but I was listening to, and he was saying that they drink the lemon lime one is the most popular one on the Eagles sideline. So I guess that fits in there as well. And Phil, thank you ever so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you coming back, and congratulations on reaching another Super Bowl. Hopefully you enjoy the game on Sunday. What have you guys got coming up then in the off season for you, the pod from a British and Irish Eagles perspective?
Well, it's like I said before we jumped on, it's when we get most of our local Philadelphia VIPs, coaches. We have Coach Singleton. He's a good friend of the podcast. He comes on at least once a year, try and get some of the Philly royalty on. So we tend to sort of try and do a podcast every other week just to lead up to the draft. Speaking of which, one of our Mick, who used to be part of the main podcast, is doing his own Road to the Draft series because he's now got 3 kids. He can't join us on our usual time slot, so he sort of records a little college draft. He's massively into the college game. He's a big Notre Dame fan, so he does a lot of college podcasts and is definitely going to be my source of information leading up to the draft. And then it's going to be on building up to the season again, covering all the different comings and goings as the Eagles report to camp and coming into 2025 season.
We'll do it all again. I think we'll maybe hit Mick up then to take part in our fans on the clock draft for the 2025 draft when we do that in April. Good stuff. Well, Phil, thanks very much for joining us. You've been a great guest, and thanks for coming back on the show. That wraps us up for Good Teams Win Great Teams cover. Our Super Bowl 59 preview is in the books. Good luck, Phil. Good luck, the Chiefs. We just hope it's a great game, and we'll see you for our final episode of the season, which is our Super Bowl 59 review.